Like, you have to prove this. You can't just walk in Frankfurt and go, ja, das habe ich hier. Guck mal, Junge.
Oh, nice.
Ja, seht mal.
Nice.
Ich bin vacciniert. Yeah.
First topic wouldn't be the breakdown in 2022 if we didn't have something to talk about in regards to NFTs, crypto, blockchain. There it is.
Usually us shitting on it, to be clear.
MetaDeckz. MetaDeckz.
Yeah, MetaDeckz. Nice.
Was announced and canceled all within a 24-hour period last week. So MetaDeckz, basically, a project by an artist or a acclaimed artist, loves all these big streamers, went down this road of making trading card / collectibles that were going to be NFTs for all these different streamers. So what you're looking at right now is Ludwig's versions of all his cards. And of course, you'd have the top secret, super platinum, rare holo that could drop. Like again, he planned this out as a whole bunch of NFT drops with a whole bunch of popular streamers, right? You know, XQC, Cutie, like tons and tons of streamers. Dr. Disrespect had cards, you name it. And then the actual streamers got wind that he was doing this and basically said, have you heard of name, image, likeness rights, my friend? He had not, narrator. He had not heard of NIL, which you'll hear a lot of in the next couple of years because everyone's starting to battle over what the fuck it means and why the rest of the world cares about these things. So, and what that is name, image, likeness rights are what any celebrity, any popular person, athletic actor, whatever. These are very important to you. They are your public persona. How your name is used, your actual name, how your image is used, a photo of you, you in a movie, you in a clip, and how your likeness is then represented. Someone making a cartoon version of you or artistically re-representing you. You know, Disney obviously is legendary for going after these things. You know, legions of lawyers that look out for their name, image, likeness rights for all their corporate stuff. So anyway, everyone obviously loses their mind. Ludwig tweets like, what the hell? I'm not doing an NFT. I have nothing to do with this. I've never heard of it. The guy from MetaDeckz then comes out and basically says, hey, well, you know, just for the record, I did send an email to all of these streamers, you know, when I could find their public business email addresses. Granted, I only did it, you know, 48 hours ago. And then it gets even funnier because he then shows the email that he basically sent. And this is where it gets
This
even
is a bad idea.
Really bad idea.
Yeah.
Take us through this.
I mean, first of all, what better way to show your support for your favorite streamers by, you know, stealing their likeness and image and making money off it? Love to see it. Hello, I am the founder / creator / artist of MetaDeckz. I am reaching out because I have an NFT collection featuring Twitch streamers. So far, a lot of the community's response has been overwhelmingly positive. I am here to offer a portion of sales to Ludwig and his community because I feel it the right thing to do. Wow. How virtuous. Magnanimous, you might say. It could be gifted subscriptions or they could be won by the community through some sort of game or giveaway. I think we could do something really cool and unique for the community, so hope to hear back from you. Translation, I'm doing this, going to make money from it. You can either choose to help me sort of signal boost this and get a small cut of the profits, or fuck you, I'm going to go and make money from it myself. So, you know what I find so fascinating about this is that Solidity engineering is not an easy thing to do. Like, if you programming smart contracts is not that straightforward. It's complicated. I just find it interesting how this person has managed to learn that and I guess how to do graphic design before they've learned the very basic tenets of, I don't know, enterprise, collaboration, copyright law, business ethics. It's quite impressive. It's a cart before the horse scenario in a big way. This guy's a kid. Oh, he's obviously a kid. Like, no one can be this dumb. And when I say kid, I mean, you know, regardless of age. What I find curious about this is that, you know, not only does he just not understand how copyright law works, which is, I mean, we've seen a lot of people that don't understand that, but also, like, he's just, the moral implications of what he's doing just really, at this point, hadn't occurred to him. And he's like, oh, this seems great. Until he makes a statement here, Scott, where we have a little bit of self-awareness. In fact, a staggering degree of self-awareness in comparison to the first few communiques that we witnessed from this individual.
I want to call it the middle one. I did not think through the legal or moral complications with my ideas and actions, which is extremely naive on my part. All right.
Wow.
Yes, it was.
That's quite quite a turnaround. Also, I mean, implications, but that's fine. I mean, generally, this person sort of. So essentially, that screenshot for those audio listeners, it's another statement from the guy MetaDeckz saying, "I'm not going to sell this. I'm not going to. No one's going to sell this. You know, I'm backing it. They're not going to be made into NFTs because obviously, like, it's just egregious. Most of these streamers, rightfully, I guess, are on the side of being rather anti this stuff. Even though I know that Miskiff right now is actually negotiating an NFT deal, and he sort of was very public on his stream saying that he would do it, but only for like an extremely large amount of money. And then he said he would give away most of it, which is, you know, interesting. I mean, you know, he said he'd give it away to chat or whatever. And I'm talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And like his stream's like, nah, keep the money. Some are like, don't get involved at all. So it's interesting how some of these top streamers are starting to interface with the idea of NFTs and where their influences come from. But Ludwig, you know, correctly is like, this is not necessary. I don't want to make money this way. And obviously, you know, a lot of the reasonable objections to NFTs still apply in this case. Also, I never asked for this, never asked for you to do this. You know what I mean? So this is people who know how to code but don't have any creativity.
Well, and I think that's the bigger issue is if a streamer or a personality wants to get involved in any sort of sponsor activation, whatever it happens to be, and endorse any sort of thing, that needs to be their choice. And you're not allowed to prop up your product with a fake endorsement by, you know, grabbing someone else's image and you know, assuming they agree to it or they don't know about it so you can sell their picture on a T-shirt or whatever. So, yeah, you know, if Ludwig wants to make some, that's on Ludwig and how he deals with his community. But yeah, for someone to come out of the woodwork, and again, if you want to have a coin, we've talked about different streamers have coins and stuff, right, Mitch? So again, that's all your own choice. This shit's even happened to me, right? A prime example for name image rights. So I used to have a global emote on Twitch, right? The OMG Scoots face, right?
OMG Scoots.
And you know, and we'll get into Amazon and Twitch with Ben, but related to that, though, when they were bought and they were cleaning up all their legality of all their shit, part of what they cleaned up was all the global emote usage, right? They can't put a global emote on a coffee cup or underwear or anything like that if they don't have the rights to do it. And it's one thing if it's just in chat, but it was starting to show up. You know, people's remotes were starting to be used for other stuff.
Merch.
Yeah. So their legal department said, hey, you got to get rights to use all this shit so we can maybe do stuff, right? So they hit us all with very, you know, standard legalese, boilerplate, name, image, likeness, release contracts, right? Or forms. And, you know, Amazon, Twitch, at that point wanted me to give up OMG Scoots. For me, so name, image, likeness applies to that thing, right? So they wanted that image, not all my images. They wanted OMG Scoots and then all likenesses that might have been made of that. Well, that wasn't a cartoon of my face. That was me turned sideways. That was an actual like rotoscope picture of me, right? So that was my likeness. And no financial compensation whatsoever. Presently in the future,
brilliant.
no, like here's 10 grand, we'll do it like, and
So what do they offer you?
Exposure bucks. And possible.
I'm sorry, Emmett Shear, go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
seriously.
There was
while I'm on your platform with that.
Yeah, and there was possibility of possible financial things with possible stuff, but I couldn't say yes or no to those things nor agree to them. So I remember I was talking to
Golden Boy agree to that.
Yeah, lots of people, Golden Boy, Gootex, and I reached out to a few of them, Spamfish, you know, and a lot of people that said yes to it were people that actually would maybe benefit for their face being in the public eye, like, you know, an on-air person, Gootex on-air person at the time, Spamfish, streamer, Golden Boy, streamer, on-air personality.
Golden Boy was maybe working at
and
Twitch
yes, Golden Boy Alex was a Twitch employee at the time when this all went down. And I remember I reached out. I remember they sent Cody Connors, who actually used to work for me at EG, who is a partnership guy there, which, long story short, Cody is kind of our partnership manager at Do Not Peek Unrelated. But they sent him to talk to me. It was like, hey, Scoots, you know, this was years ago, obviously. Can you read this over, and are you cool with it? And I read it, and I'm like, Cody, this is worse than any esports contract you and I have ever seen. He's like, yeah, I know. I think that's why they sent me. And I'm like, I can't sign this in good conscience. I don't care that much. And I said, Cody, this would allow Amazon to literally put my face on toilet paper and sell like global emote toilet paper or do something weird or do anything that I can't control. And he's like, yep. And I'm like, I got to say no. And so I did.
The benefits rights are intangible anyway. I mean,
Yeah, it
you
would have
can't
been
quantify this financially.
Yeah, it would have made sense if they went, oh yeah, if we do merchandise at A, you get the right of first refusal, so I could say no to toilet paper or yes to toilet paper, and oh yeah, you get 15. Like there was no money, not even a buyout of like a one-time fee, and I was like, are you fucking crazy? And I just didn't care, right?
Yeah,
So
no,
now
that's not it.
subscribe to our channel and get that same delicious emote, folks.
That's right.
That we're talking about.
Rare emote now.
Anyway, so
That's right.
that's a very
Endangered
basic
emote.
name, image, likeness rights, right? And you see this a lot. You know, it's obviously an ongoing battle in esports in the sense of who owns rights. The players are starting to battle for their own individual sponsorships in different sports because it's like that in sports. You know, LeBron James gives a chunk of his NIL to the team who pays him to play basketball, but it is in a fucking vertical, right? It is very funneled what they can do with that name. And, and
a lot of contracts in esports, by the way, especially for casters, sign those away in perpetuity.
Yes.
That's the problem. Like if you're a caster or like you're a broadcast talent player sometimes in esports, you need to make sure that like they can't just use your, NIL rights forever.
Yep.
And that is actually present in some contracts. And I come across this because DDK, his partner worked in Hollywood with like talent acquisitions, production, stuff like that. She's like, these esports contracts all have these name, image, likeness rights in perpetuity. And it's just standard and no one fucking cares about it. And I was like, hang on, that ain't it. So yeah, read those contracts. Yep. Our industry's got a long way to go in that regard because no one's being offered royalties for like their name, image, likeness being used down the track for literally ever. And it's like, it's a lot to sign away, especially when right now, almost every fucking developer or anyone running an esports league is trying to fucking scrimp and nickel and dime their casters this year.
Yep.
Everyone's fucking doing it.
Yeah,
so,
and it's one thing to
make sure you control those rights.
and I remember when I was doing Counter-Strike, the few years that I traveled with the circuit, sometimes there wasn't even a contract. There was no legalese really between, other than an email saying dates, pay raise, per diem, or how expenses were covered, but no signing either. I mean, perpetuity's worse, but nothing is also very similar. Like if you don't protect, and they record you, and obviously the most egregious thing is, I remember it was Henry G and Sadakist, obviously great casters and legendary pair in Counter-Strike. They would do an event for a tournament organizer, and then months later, I was listening to like a virtual reality. There was a virtual reality like app where you could watch games for a while. So they were a sponsor later on of that. I think it might have been ESL. And I hear Sadakist and Henry G's voice it's just an ad. It's not for the event. It's not for IEM. It's literally for this company and their tool within Counter-Strike to watch. And I'm like, there's no way that those guys got paid extra for their voices that were recorded 6 months ago, right? And that shit just doesn't fly in the real world. Like no sportscaster is showing up in a fucking.
My voice was in an Intel ad. It was in an Intel ad that featured Overwatch gameplay for ages.
Yeah.
But it was like season 1, and like I had a lawyer look at my contract. But yeah, they like my name, image, likeness could be used for marketing purposes, even if it's not specifically about the Overwatch League.
Overwatch had playing cards. Did you have a playing card? Trading cards, playing cards, trading cards. Did you have a trading card?
I mean, I had like promo ones. I don't think you could open me in a pack. No.
Okay, got it.
A lot of players.
Because I know they did that.
But no, I don't think they had talent.
Because I know talent was involved. Like they did that years ago with StarCraft 2. They had a whole bunch of talent drop. The cards at BlizzCon and same kind of thing. Everyone's likeness was in there, but teams weren't compensated, players weren't compensated, talent wasn't compensated. And where it rears its head in sports, and it's kind of being legally figured out as well as it's going to happen here, is all the fantasy stuff, right? You start a fantasy website, right, and you decide to use League of Legends, right? You're going to do fantasy League of Legends. Not going to charge the end user. You come and have your fantasy league with your friends, free to you. I'm going to put ads all over the place, though, right? I'm sponsored by a gambling site, and I'm going to use all the official League of Legends pictures from the teams, the team logos, and all that kind of shit. That's kind of illegal. You're not charging for that picture of the guy, but the picture of the guy is there. That's why the stats programs, all these things in sports, someone owns them, someone charges use of them. It's still really willy-nilly around here, right? Especially when you do charge for your fantasy, right? And sports is getting that all figured out. That's why all the big fantasies are the big FanDuels and DraftKings because they're the ones that can afford to go to the PAs and go to the teams and go, put in your logos on our website, put in your faces on our website, buying the stats over here to have on the website. And that's how you legalize it. But over here, regardless of the game, wild fucking west.
And people fucking hate paying broadcast talent, except for you guys. You guys love that. I see.
We overpay.
Everyone else fucking hates that.
Not you though. Vancilli, we overpay the fuck out of. Respect,
Vancilli, yeah. I mean,
respect.
based on quality of production. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So
anyway,
moving on a little bit here. This was such a weird story that came out this week. So we'll circle back. I think copyright's becoming a more common issue, but we're getting into the weeds a bit. This week, so Rainbow Six, from what I understand, has had a pretty sick. They're like it's like their largest event of the year, right? Rainbow Six did, but they sort of announced their plans for the coming year. And amongst those plans, they announced some of the venues or the locations that they would be going to. So, it looked like the standard stuff, like fairly reasonable locations. But one that stood out to us was Dubai or the United Arab Emirates. Now, it wouldn't be the first esports tournament that's been done in the Emirates. I think ESL did an ESL Pro League finals in the Emirates, and I didn't go to that. I think I casted the B stream though, and I heard a lot of stories from the talent, and it was an experience which we'll get onto in just a second. But look, I mean, first of all, you have a member of the LGBT, you have members of the LGBTQ plus community on the Rainbow Six talent team. So that's obviously an issue there already, because as you may not know, the Emirates is known for a lot of human rights violations, especially pertaining to those that identify as LGBTQ plus. So like criminalizing homosexuality, floggings, fines, deportation, chemical castration, forced conversion therapy, honor killings, vigilante execution, and more. Here's a bit of a readout of what LGBT rights look like in the Emirates. Not fucking good, by the way. Can't change gender. You have no protections against being discriminated by employers, by people for housing, just in general. You can't adopt. Conversion therapy is legal. Not good. So, obviously ammunition is one of the first to sort of point this out. I don't know if they were the first, but she says, hey, like, what's going on here? This precipitated a large petition on change.org, as many of them are, where, it was like, hey, hello, why are you having a major in the United Arab Emirates? Like, you can't really do this. Yeah. And it turns out, Scott, that this was a pretty effective way of getting attention.
Yeah, and like you said, the day it dropped, everyone jumped on it, and certainly the people that are active casters and crew and associated jumped on, and Ammunition has been an ambassador of Rainbow Six, plays it, big streamer in her own right, keeps an eye on the competitive thing. Actually, really good FPS gamer in general. She's all over the FPSs, Tarkov, Overwatch, this one, and I think her having that bigger voice. She's also, not a straight white woman in that sense, so she fits into this. She goes to these majors as an ambassador, she's very involved in this game. She's not on-air talent in the sense of a esports caster, but like she goes and like meets and greets and all that. She's a big part of the community. Yeah, she's definitely a big part of the community.
They literally have on-air talent that also are LGBT QIA plus. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what do you want to do? You want to fucking send your broadcasting to a country where their lives could be literally endangered based on their sexual identity? Like, sorry, what? Like, who thought of this?
Yep. What the fuck? And it's almost safe to say.
When will people?
I mean, is it not safe to say that now in 2022, you could almost throw a rock at any decent-sized esports company, TO, production company? You're going to hit someone who's not a straight person, right? And that's a great thing. That's a fucking great thing. And again, public pressure came down hard and quick, much like it did with Neom and the League of Legends sponsorships, as well as that Blast sponsorship. Because we've talked about this region and the issues with human rights several times on the show, ESL, Saudi Arabia, etc. So they did flip. They backtracked. They put out a press release fairly quickly.
Hard to read.
Hard to read. Really hard to read. Really hard to read.
So look, they word this as if this was like a payoff, or not payoff, but like a celebration of the, I'm sure, thriving Middle East and North African region for Rainbow Six Siege. I'm sure there's like a thriving scene there. And I'm sure that there's many players, fans in that region that are deserving of being able to host an event. The event was supposed to be in Abu Dhabi, by the way, which is, I think, worse. It's a lot less progressive, I think, a city than the Emirates from Dubai, from what I understand. But so I don't know if it was the case of like a government throwing fat money at this. Like there is a large scene for this, and it's not uncommon for game developers to service those scenes by creating events in those locales as a celebration of what they've done. But like, when will tournament organizers understand that the core ethics and values of these countries and their governments are not compatible with very reasonable Western values and ethics? You cannot cooperate with these entities. You cannot put, your players, fans, or broadcast talents' lives at risk, like by having them at this kind of event. I'm sorry, and I really feel bad for like the fans over in these regions that don't have any say in government policy or the enforcement of this discrimination that absolutely exists there. Leveled, of course, at members of the LGBTQIA community, but this is the way it is. Their governments are not willing to accept these people as, legitimate individuals and uphold their rights. Then you don't get to fucking play with the big boys. You stay in the fucking kids' corner and you wait until your country learns to fucking progress past this semi-Neanderthalic fucking mindset. Like, you don't get to participate in the parties and the fun events that the West has until you sort this shit out. And I think, honestly, like, I understand that culturally this is very difficult. And even if you live in the MENA region and you find this reprehensible, that it's very dangerous for you as an individual to speak out about it. I'm sorry, that's tough. But there should be no reason for Western esports organizations to try and collaborate with entities that are controlled by these governments, because they're generally more authoritarian sort of countries as well. So the governments have much more of a say in where the money goes and how events and tourism works in these places. There should not be any advocacy. There should not be any engagement between these entities until this shit gets fixed. Full stop.
I don't mean to do a whataboutism on you, but I'm going to bring up the fact that it seems like this fight gets fought when it comes to mainstream sports washing that these countries are doing, but that didn't stop F1 from going there. It's not stopping professional golf from going to that region. It's not stopping the World Cup from going to that region. So
that's true.
Do you think it's also a matter of like, well, fuck, if and I know we don't like the real versus us, but like, if what we've always looked up to, sports, is bowing to this region and the money of this region, who are we to fight back, right? Or are we exactly the ones to fight back?
Ago. No, we stopped looking up to sports years ago. I mean, fuck me. The last time anybody took the last time anybody that took the attempt to emulate traditional sports seriously was the Overwatch League. And we have like a fucking lexicon of learnings from that attempt that indicates to us that it's not a valid approach with esports, with how globalized it is, the structure it is. And obviously, the people in esports have demonstrated now on more than one occasion that they can force a developer to change their mind on these things. You know what I mean? There's a precedent set where the people can actually vote with their feet and have an impact. Now, in the case of F1, that might not be the case. I also want to suggest that the age group that watch F1 may be less politically mobilized and less inclined to actually cause a stir about these kind of issues. I'll use baseball as an example, but it's much more of an older person sport.
Yeah, maybe we are
of a viewer.
Maybe we are the demographic that can be loud enough and make the big enough stink, because the traditional fan bases of these other sports, golf, obviously not a young, energetic, happy, super vibrant young sport in the sense of, because they're dealing with it too. Phil Mickelson just got himself in a whole bunch of fucking trouble for some shit he said. Anyway, but then it gets, so they did give an announcement. And I think you hit on a really valid point that I don't know how we solve. Gaming's global, right? So it's safe to say the region, or any region that has any of these kind of political conflicts that you don't agree with, China, Russia, huge gamer bases of people that, for lack of a better word, are doing nothing wrong but being gamers like us. So how are they just shit out of luck until their countries' governments change? And they got to keep coming to where it's cool, Because obviously Rainbow Six, part of this big, long press release was, hey, we really care about this region. We had a lot of communication with this region. This region is growing. We're trying to nod to the region. right? So obviously
Sure.
the gamers are all like, it's not us, right? Like we are the young. We
Sure.
want to. So how? Do they just keep
I mean, I
losing
think
till they vote out? Well, vote out is not even the right word in some of these countries. So like, I don't know how you fix it.
yeah. So I think you have to, in my opinion, it really only makes sense to work domestically in those regions. Like you can't. I mean, I just don't think involving talent or putting anyone in a position where they could be persecuted, in a different country is acceptable. I just think you have to avoid that possibility at all costs. I think you should still serve the fan bases in these countries, but no, I would suggest that if there is such a grievous incompatibility between the values that the countries and the governing bodies ultimately possess, then I would consider restricting their participation. This happens I think this happens in the Olympics a lot as well. It is a scenario where you get told you can't play in the pool because of X, Y, or Z. It is exclusionary, but I think that the only way to sort of temper this, the harsh reality of this, is to maybe double down on serving those fans domestically. Will you get a global event? No, but hopefully you can get a large amount of activations, a large amount of liveliness in your local and domestic scenes. And you have a branch of Ubisoft that is based in MENA that
Yeah.
should be empowered to do so.
And then what if? And just what if the people involved in the actual event in said country? What if the government? What if it isn't a sports washing? Because obviously, like we know the Saudi Arabia thing in ESL, the fund is properly
This might
public.
not be sports washing, by the way.
Huh?
Yeah.
What was that?
This might not be sports washing. This Rainbow Six.
Yeah,
thing,
that's what I'm
because,
like.
again, like we said, we don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. What are they still shit out of luck if everyone involved in the event is just capitalistic people trying to throw a cool event in a shitty country, but there's no government sponsorship, there's no money, they're not getting the venue for free from the city.
Mm-hmm.
Like, then is it? I mean, I know you can't necessarily go down the road of proving this every time, but like, because now you're hurting possible business growth. But I guess again, you have to draw the line somewhere. But then it gets really weird because this morning the line got drawn like 2 states over, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, this is very concerning. I think
that's very close to home.
There's nothing wrong, by the way, nothing wrong with asking the questions that you're asking. By the way, I'm almost certain you'd probably come to the same conclusion as I have. Eventually, I think it's kind of hard to see another way around it when people's safety is at risk. But here's a great example of people's safety being put at risk domestically. Greg Abbott, who is he? Attorney General of Texas?
Governor.
Someone like that.
Governor.
He's basically telling, right, thank you. Whatever. I mean, look, turds all look the same to me. He's officially directed Family and Protective Services to begin investigating all trans children in Texas and prosecuting their parents as child abusers. He's also instructed all teachers, doctors, and caregivers to begin reporting on any trans students they see. So broadly, this is an assertion that allowing your child to, I guess, explore their gender identity, this is a really divisive issue. I mean, really, this is like one of those fucking annoying hills that Ben Shapiro, for example, just has to die on, as an example of like just a fucking irritating conservative pundit. The implication here is that parents are harming their kids, allowing them to experience freedom of gender expression, I guess, and asking. Mandatory reporting is very common, right? So when I worked with young people as a youth leader in my younger years, I had to take a course of mandatory reporting that if I witnessed any evidence of abuse in these children, I had to report it to the authorities, right? It was, sure. I was obligated to do that by law. So basically allowing your child to transition or to explore, gender identity, whatever, is being categorized as abuse. I think that is one of many, but one of the most egregious corollaries of this dictate.
Yeah, again, this news this morning is actually par for the course for this asshole, Greg Abbott. Fuck you, Greg Abbott. From this pandemic handling in Texas to the power grid. Again, my dad used to have a saying, didn't make it up. I got 2 words for you, and they're not let's dance, and they generally were fuck you. were the 2 words. Yeah, this is it's kind of funny because we're noodling this show about something that's happening halfway around the world, and like, do we use because Texas is a very big esport fucking state, right? So, and I'm not trying to be like Mr. Contrarian, like, well, what about? But like, if we have a voice and we care about this kind of shit and we can activate our voice, should we use that voice against shit like this when Florida and Texas and even my lovely little state of Arizona has some pretty fucked up laws? Should we not support events there? Should we not? Because obviously there's no esports events in Arizona, but there absolutely are esports event every month in Texas, right? So do we try to use some force for good? I don't know, right? I'm not a woke warrior in that sense, but this is fucked up. And Texas is already fucked up with some abortion shit. And what I would say, because it's very similar to Arizona, Texas in some regards. Like the cities in Arizona are very much flipped, right? We're no longer fucking Goldwater Republicans, and where the city populations are the ones that flipped this state this year, right? And I think Texas, your big cities are very progressive, very fucking not Greg Abbott, but surrounded by ruralness and lots of ruralness, just like Arizona, and they have a big vote still. And so this kind of shit makes the entire state of Texas look like assholes, but you go talk to someone in Austin, you go talk to someone in downtown Dallas, they're like, fuck this guy, right? Big fucking state. And that's why and we get into it here in Arizona, because Phoenix is almost like not part of chunks of Arizona, right? I mean, California has it a little bit, in the central region versus the LA. Anyway, but back to the topic at hand. Do we care enough to do something about this kind of legislation and this kind of bullshit in our own country?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really a matter of opinion, isn't it? I would say yes. I mean, I would say, like, I don't vote. I cannot vote in the United States, so I cannot affect change at a governmental level in that sense. I think this has definitely been like a banner issue for a lot of conservatives as well. And I think it's funny because what conservatives are suggesting is happening, I don't think it generally happens. It's like conservatives are suggesting that like parents are trying to indoctrinate their children in this sort of I don't know, this sort of weird, wacky world where they should, they can be whatever gender they want, and just give them, like, just fill their heads with crap kind of thing. Where, like, as a father, am I going to raise my son and go like, all right, you're wearing a dress today? Like, obviously not. But if my son, once they're old enough to understand like what their gender identity is, or start to explore it, says to me, look, I don't think, I don't think that I feel comfortable as a male or whatever, then I mean, you have to take that seriously. The conservatives are basically saying kids shouldn't be able to make these decisions about themselves until a certain age, and they should have no agency in this regard. It's a really difficult issue. Texas is trending blue, as Final Sights does point out.
Yep.
So hopefully we can see stuff like this repealed. But there's a problem, and I'd like to see what the federal government can really do about this. I don't know. But I think this is like, what was the word? Is it fascist? Like, these people are like now like dobbing on parents, teachers, and everyone that like they're now parents of trans kids are being labeled as abuse. It's like, this is fucking extremely concerning. It's just really fucking scary. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Frightens the shit out of me.
Yep. No doubt. And again, is he up for re-election right now? Final. How much more time does this guy have running this state, possibly?
Oh God, I don't know.
Because I think there is an election. I think Texas has an election in March, but I'm not sure he's on. I'm not sure if governor is, or is this actually part of a message to his base?
Vote for a recall.
Oh, he's up for re-election.
Do we have?
Yeah, this is a prime example of him trying to talk to that part of Texas.
Yeah.
Right? To keep the vote.
Yep.
Oh, fuck this
fucking
dude.
hell.
Fuck this dude.
I hope it blows up in his face. But yeah, I think it should be like something that's very concerning, because like, what's to stop fucking Ron DeSantis from trying to do the same thing? After he sees this, you know what I mean? Like those sort of states with very conservative sort of government.
Perfect time for like Hastro and Hex to get activated in Texas and get all those fan bases activated to get voter turnout up. Like, get this fucker out of office. Use that social media campaign. Vote him out, Hastro. Mobilize the Texas young gamers.
I mean, hopefully at the voter level something can be done here. But it makes sense now, of course. It's not uncommon for like a very sort of volatile issue like this to be sort of pushed close to election time.
Yep.
But you really do. I think the moderate conservatives are going to struggle to get on board with this though as well. Like this is definitely policy that may alienate people that are more centrist and so stray towards the middle. And in my humble opinion, this is absolutely like aimed at the Judeo-Christian voter base for sure. So yeah, hopefully this just falls to shit in the guy's hands. That's all I'll say on that one. But yeah, I mean, look, circling back to the idea, do we sort of boycott this kind of thing? Kind of, yeah. Yes. Because cities like Arlington, for example, are making large investments in trying to attract esports investment to their locale. And they should be going to this dickhole, being like, hey, you're fucking up our enterprise here by, with these policies.
Yeah.
There should be like, mayors and sort of community leaders should be the ones that are lobbying for this kind of thing to not happen at all. I hope that the larger cities can prevail. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, especially with so many streamers like taking over Austin. It's like Twitch fucking Southwest in Austin right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it is.
All right, let's move on. We're gonna talk about some Counter-Strike. We don't normally cover coverage of our esports, but this one's got some news that flew to the top in the Counter-Strike world. First one on the docket. Gambling and esports, always a good time.
Yeah, this is weird.
So I'll bring you up to speed on this one, right? So we've got a gambling platform, a sportsbook called GGBet. They sponsor Navi. Right. They sponsor a whole bunch of people in the space, right?
Yeah.
We have an influencer streamer that tweets out a series of prop bets, basically, that it's translated here for you, that basically that an M249 will be bought, a gun never used in Tier 1 CS unless you're trolling, and even then very, very rarely. And he basically kind of says what he'll do, but the prop bet is basically that this gun will be bought, right? For those that don't know what
500 to 1 odds.
500 to 1 odds, very important, 500 to 1 odds. What a prop bet is, if you're not at all familiar with a prop bet, most, you wager on a match, which means Team A is going to beat Team B, and there might be a line on it, so they've got to beat them by X amount. That's a regular wager on the outcome of a match. What a prop bet is a series of bets that are on the minutia of the event itself and don't have anything necessarily to do with the overall outcome of who wins said event. So you can bet who wins the coin toss at a football game. Super Bowl is a legendary coin toss bet. You can, in prop bets in esports would be who first kill in League of Legends is a prop bet, right? First kill in Counter-Strike on a pistol is a prop bet, right?
So they're not score related or outcome related necessarily.
And they're not generally related to something you can manipulate and rig super duper easily without some collusion, right? Like first kill in League of Legends is not going to be colluded on. You're not going to be one team and go, oh yeah, you guys go ahead and take that because there's a bet on it, right? So even prop bets, you try to make them as unmanipulatable as possible by those involved in the sport, right? So that's what a prop bet is, right? And again, very, very standard in sports, very standard in esports.
People love to like stack them, you know what I mean? Like have multiple prop bets that all need to come true and the odds just skyrocket. It's just, so I don't bet, but
yeah, and I'm not a bettor either, but lived in Vegas for a lot of time. So getting up to this particular bet. So there's a prop bet that this particular gun will be bought by Navi during this IEM match, right? This guy.
Ooh, wait a minute.
Go ahead.
I mean, he's sponsored by the betting platform. The guy making the prop bet is sponsored. Oh God. So hang on. So he's betting on a team who's sponsored by the betting platform. He himself is also sponsored by the betting platform.
Oh, the full circle. You're getting it all. You're putting it all together right now.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Yeah.
Yep.
R/I am very smart. All right. Already a little bit sus, but okay. Look, this has the potential to be nothing. A nothing burger, if you would, Scott.
A nothing burger. But of course, during the match.
You're fucking kidding me. You're fucking kidding me.
He buys it. Perfecto has an AK. buys it, drops the, buys there it is, right there on the ground. Navi screenshots the stream, tweets it out.
Why have you done this? Why would you draw attention to this if you're Navi?
Full circle marketing initiative. Every box checked on something that should not be a marketing initiative. Like, holy fuck. Like, again, there's no, and then, obviously everyone blows up. Well, maybe he didn't know. Maybe he randomly bought it. They went and looked at Perfecto's, Half-Life TV records. He's never bought this gun, right? It's not even a troll gun that he buys. It was all set up. So it was all set up.
Good for about $9,000.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
what the guy made.
And again, no one is saying that, okay, Perfecto got a slice of the money. I'm looking at it all as a marketing initiative. They're all sponsored by the same thing. They all work together. It's a prop bet that should never have existed, for one, and let alone existed on a platform with a team and a streamer and everyone all attached to the same, like, holy shit.
Is this just...
It's called spot fixing. In sports, when you do this, it's spot fixing, right? Whereas match fixing is fixing the outcome of a match. Spot fixing is fixing a prop bet, right? And this has happened in traditional sports. It's been brought up during the debate of all this. There was a football game, Premier League, I think. I say football.
Yep. Someone ate a pie, right?
And the prop bet was that this guy would eat a piece of pie during the game. The goalkeeper, I think it was a goaltender. Goalkeeper in hockey, goaltender in football. Anyway, he finds out about it, decides to embrace the prop bet, eats a piece of pie, gets busted for eating the piece of pie because he colluded with, so to speak, and so not really.
He admitted to knowing
about it. Now, so if you're the athlete and there's a prop bet about you, you're supposed to literally just ignore that it exists. Because but it's weird because if you know about it and if you don't activate on it, you're activating on it because the other side of the prop bet is it didn't happen, right? He didn't eat the pie, right? So if he knew about it, decided not to eat the pie, is he still influencing? That's why prop bets don't involve people usually. It's a coin toss. It's the weird shit of the sport, right? And it's usually not a lot of money. Yeah. There's usually a
player will get more than 40 kills or,
and there's usually a cap on the odds. So if there is any sort of funny business, it's a low-level bet, not a big deal. Anyway, this was fucking silly. So everyone's wondering if, the Esports Integrity Commission is going to get involved.
It's not legal.
Yeah. And we haven't heard anything from ESL. It did happen at an ESL match.
This is such classic. This is just classic CIS dodginess. You know what I mean? Sorry. No, fuck you guys.
What are you doing?
Why, you always do this. Why?
And did they just think it was all like, oh, this is so cool. This is so funny. This is perfect. Nobody loses. It's a win-win.
They must have.
And again, it's not a competitive...
No, they must have.
Yeah. And the weird part about it is that you certainly didn't affect the competitive integrity of the match outcome. But it just opens this whole really can of worms you don't want to open about prop bets and collusion and weird shit. Especially when it's all related to the same goddamn sponsor. All right. Yep. So that's the Navi news, and we'll wait and see if there's any sort of official verdict from anybody. We haven't heard. There's been no official chatter about anything yet. Moving on to North American Counter-Strike. This time it's not about match fixing. That was years ago. Years ago. Yeah.
NA Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
Is this the savior of NA Counter-Strike, Scott? Party Astronauts?
Party Astronauts, has a fundraiser because they're not a sponsored org. Obviously, Party Astronauts is not a big old org with a whole bunch of sponsors.
A mixed team,
bunch of dudes, yep. Trying to, they got a spot at EPL, which is, the Pro League. So they're trying to take advantage of that, keep their team together, and then do a boot camp, and then have a longer boot camp and go do some of the RMRs for the major circuit, right? So they raise a bunch of money. They have a GoFundMe. They raise, I want to say, $7,000+, plane tickets. They ended up getting their actual the LAN center comped their LAN stay, boot camp usage, if you will, for the computers and stuff. As part of their donation. Really good feel-good story, right? Like, help get this team to Europe, get boot camped up for the RMRs and then EPL. And then just a fucking comedy of fucking errors happens to this team.
So they get donated money. It turns out travel restrictions to Germany mean that you have to be double vaxxed, right? To be double vaxxed to go to Germany. For some reason, party astronauts can't go to Germany. Can anybody guess why? Can anybody guess why? Bueller? One of the motherfuckers wasn't fucking double vaxxed. He lied about it, right? Or did, well, I mean, okay, so I guess his team must have thought that he was double vaxxed. You know what I mean? But if you can't prove this, like, you have to prove this shit. You can't just walk into fucking Frankfurt and go, ja, das hab ich hier. Guck mal, Junge.
Oh, nice.
Ja, seht mal.
Nice.
Ich bin vacciniert. You know, you have to show them a card.
Yep.
And it will say, and obviously old mate, if he only got vaccinated once, it would only have one on there and he wouldn't be allowed in the country. So that happened. So I don't think he went to the country. They didn't take the flight, but we found out that the guy wasn't vaxxed, and obviously one of their players was not able to get vaccinated in time. So they're on the hook. They've got these plane tickets. They don't have a full team, and they're fucked, Scott. Right?
Yeah. Well, what happens is where it you know, and monsters fall totally on the sword on this. But basically, the minute he realizes that they're kind of fucked in their current roster situation, he thinking that he's taken all this money from the community, and, you know, bless you, Moses, Jason O'Toole gave like $1,500 to the cause, just as the sweetheart he is.
Not a small amount of money.
I think he acted, it sounds like he acted instinctively, and he thought, if I cancel the tickets, at least I can get a chunk of change back as we figure this out. And we haven't wasted all this money, at least, as I figure it all out. Well, our boy went and canceled non-refundable fucking tickets. And the airline don't care about no fucking sob story once you cancel a non-refundable fucking ticket. The reason they sell you that ticket so fucking cheaply and make it a non-refundable ticket, because it's so goddamn cheap, is so you get no fucking money back, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And he didn't remember or didn't think about it, you know, maybe doesn't travel a lot, doesn't, you know, whatever, but, you know, there's no going back from that. And apparently he actually did do a bunch of sobbing and was able to figure out which of the legs of the flights, you know, were non-refundable, of which airline, and which ones actually they could get money back from. So thankfully they were able to get a chunk of the money from the airlines back, but there were some non-refundables, and that's just profit for the airline at this point, because they don't give a fuck, because they held that seat for you, and now they can't. They'll say, well, we can't sell that seat. So anyway,
they will.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they double dip it all the time. They oversell constantly, and anyway, so long story short, there, you know, it gets a little bit of money back, but it turns into then a whole internal drama, right? So then the guy that wasn't double vaxxed in time does what everyone does. He puts out a twit longer, basically stepping down from the team. And
so quickly, Cynic FPS. Is this the player that was unvaccinated?
Yes.
Do we know who that was? So this guy was the reason they couldn't go to Germany, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So this tweet longer reads, due to a number of issues over the last few months, I've slowly lost faith in the future of the team. Since joining, I felt like a bystander to a constant barrage of personal and in-game problems. And despite qualifying for Pro League and the announcement of the major qualifiers, it feels like motivation is at an all-time low. Since my first event with the team at Frag 15, the issues have been apparent. I've done my best to offer solutions to problems and resolve conflicts, but it feels like fighting a losing battle. In addition, I've been the hardest worker by a large margin since the day I joined the team, and to see my teammates still doing the bare minimum a few weeks after incredibly important events feels like a huge slap in the face. It was a very difficult decision to step down before EPL because it has been my main goal for almost 3 years, but I've gotten to the point where I don't see a future for the team beyond attending this one event. Because of that, I've decided to step down in order to join a new team where I feel my effort and desire to win will be reciprocated. An official announcement on the team will be coming in the next few days. So, no mention of this vaccination.
Zero.
Pardon? Are you sure this is the unvaxxed guy?
Yes, according to Control Room, they've even backed it up, yeah.
Sorry, you take no responsibility for not getting a second fucking shot?
Because here,
you absolute fucking pusillanimous papega. This is unreal.
Yeah, because as you can see, folks, it turned this Twitlonger turned into his teammate coming at him, right? And that's obviously where he clarifies. Doesn't get vaccinated for 6 months, knowing he's going to Europe to play for Pro League. Fucks an entire team of 5 guys. Says he wants to make something in CS. I hate fake humans. And he also, his first tweet, he alludes to he's going to play with a bunch of match fixers. You know, we've got this swirling crew of possible unbusted match fixers in North America still. So maybe the team he's going to has a few of them on there. So yeah, certainly the guy that fucked him, fucked over the rest of the team. And, using it as now a convenient, but he doesn't use the vaccination status as any sort of excuse because he ignores it. It's, lack of work ethic, and I don't like this team anyway.
But
so
that's the whole reason they couldn't go to Germany. That's the whole reason they couldn't attend the fucking EPL. But his excuse is that he just doesn't think the team is going to do anything.
No, but it was a problem before I didn't get the shot, dude. No one's practicing but me, bro. So fuck it. I'm not going to get the shot. Now, there is a little silver lining. As there always is in North American Counter-Strike, a whole bunch of shit, and then the toilet flushes, and a little shit on the side still, but it's kind of cleaned up again. So they are going still to EPL. They are heading over. The hits keep on coming. They did recruit a new permanent 5th to replace this guy, but he doesn't have his passport ready in time. So his passport's expired or something, so he can't go to this boot camp. So they brought the journeyman mercenary Peter in. Peter's going to go over there, been around forever. As long as he doesn't break his fucking arm on the way over, he'll hopefully be all right. And they'll at least party astronauts in North America will be representing in EPL. But Jesus, goddamn Christ.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, look, at least... for this team, they get to have this opportunity. I think it's still really important for them.
Yeah,
look, there are reasons. Look, there are legitimate reasons why people don't get shots, but I think this player could quite easily, Cynic could quite easily have actually said that he could have said, hey, like obviously I'm really sorry about this Germany thing. There's a few reasons why I can't get a vaccine, but I'm convinced that there is no legitimate reason for that, because he just completely ignores it and then projects his team's lack of success onto like lazy teammates. Where you call everyone else lazy, but you couldn't be asked going and getting another shot. Like, I don't know what to tell you, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you're not like you're just dumb. But if you don't realize that you can't travel most of the time if you're not fully vaccinated, just there are plenty of people that haven't had both shots yet. Fine, but they know they can't travel, and that's just the rules, homie. I don't know. It's just the weirdest thing. This guy, I think, is a bit of a sociopath, because he has a great amount of difficulty sort of identifying his own role in this particular failure, even if not the entire one. Maybe his teammates are lazy, but there's no responsibility. There's no responsibility being taken for fucking any of this. It's just bonkers, mate. Bonkers.
Yeah.
Whatever. Party astronauts play with Peter. I guess that's cool.
yeah. We'll see how they're going to get thrashed, right? They're playing the best Counter-Strike teams on the planet. But good exposure for the kids. Good exposure, and maybe someone picks the roster up. Obviously, this kind of team does this to get hopefully picked up by somebody else, right? And move this roster to to get a paid ride. So, all right. And then the last little piece of Dust 2 news I wrote, of Counter-Strike news in North America. You might not know, we have some North American-centric Counter-Strike websites. We talked about Ryan from RushB Media closing his little kind of volunteer-based news site a couple weeks ago, and having an announcement coming about what he was going to do. He was going to leave his finance career in New York City, and he was going to do something full-time in esports. Well, now we know what it is. Ryan is the ultimate shit poster of Counter-Strike. So he has now announced that he's going to work for Better Collective, which is the parent company that owns Half-Life TV. Big, obviously the biggest Counter-Strike coverage website on the planet. And they do have a kind of North American-centric English version as well. Half-Life TV is in English as well, called Dust 2 US. Leans into Tier 2, Tier 3 North American news, which is great resource. And then obviously big news as well. Ryan's going to run that. He's editor-in-chief, full-time job. But, and we don't have any graphics to cover it up, but of course it wouldn't just be news without drama to go along with North American Counter-Strike. Because the guy that started Dust 2 US, guy by the name of Tolkien Fanatic is his online tag, Joe. Been there from the beginning, is the ex-EIC. He came out and basically the same day said, hey, not so cool. I'm getting pushed out. Not how I wanted. So this is not a good transition for him. His baby has been... He's been pushed out of his baby. Ryan's coming to take it over. They all like each other. I don't think it's a Ryan-Joe thing. I think it's above. The powers that be didn't like whatever Joe was doing with this website, and they're excited for whatever Ryan might do with it. But of course, you never like seeing your baby ripped out from under you. That happened to us at Got Frag. So I do feel bad for Joe. He has, been in the trenches of covering North American Counter-Strike for 4 or 5 years, and very, very unexposed. He doesn't get a lot of love. The whole scene, the people that write for it. Same thing with Ryan at RushB. Same thing at those at Dust 2. So, but it was a little drama filled at the end. He was like, "Fuck this shit. I'm out for a while. I'll be back." So sorry, Joe. You lost your baby that way, and we'll see what Ryan does with it. I don't know if there's a market for like the eyeballs for that anyway. Like, I always wonder. Like, is there? But it's another place for them to serve their betting ads, I guess, when betting gets legalized here.
Yeah,
the play is eventually, our country is going state by state by state with sports books becoming more and more legal, and eventually it'll become federally legal, probably in some regards, and then this website will have betting ads on it, right? And maybe that's what they're building towards, much like Half-Life TV has betting ads on it. So Counter-Strike news, and then last piece of Counter-Strike news. IEM happening, getting ready to go into the Spodek Arena this weekend, right? So if you're into StarCraft or into Counter-Strike, they're heading back into LAN play with fans and players and the whole 9 yards. So very, very exciting stuff. Yeah.
I got asked to submit my rate for this event, actually.
Really?
Joe Miller actually sent us an email. Yeah. I think they didn't end up going with me for reasons. But the person that they will have hosting the event, I think they might have already been announced. I think is very suitable. I think while Blair may not be like the most prolific host, he's been in that scene for a long time. But it's going to be a great opportunity for him. I think he's stage hosting. I was asked to stage host, so
okay.
I think Machine and Shocks couldn't do it. I was third in line, somewhere around there, I guess. I know Joe watches this show sometimes, so he might be able to correct. But didn't work out for me, unfortunately. But I'm still going to be watching the event because, IEM Katowice is always something special.
Yeah.
That venue has a lot of very fond memories for me, even if the catering fucking sucked. One of the best crowds I've ever encountered in esports.
Dude,
so yeah, it's going to be a great event.
I did the first major there, desk host, and then I went back as a visitor for one. And when you almost cry when Kentucky Fried Chicken shows up, when KFC shows up, and you're like, oh my fucking God. Oh my God. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. Like, the rest of the catering is bad when KFC saves your fucking life, right?
It's just, look, pierogi's great, but it gets soggy if you leave it in styrofoam for 2 days straight. You know what I mean?
Pierogi, there's nothing worse. Oh God. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not. I will say, I went to the restaurants in Katowice are good. Well worth checking out. There are some great traditional places there. Carmack took me around.
Oh yeah. We're just talking about event catering, which is terrible around the world. That's terrible anywhere you go, unless you get it like the minute it opens. Anyway, so check it out if you're into those two. It's cool to see StarCraft getting love too and being back in the arena. And I get this.
You need a prompt?
No, I was just thinking that the last time I was there, League of Legends was there, but League of Legends is such dramatically shifted as an esport now.
I'm watching your esports career flash before your eyes. You're just like re-experiencing it all.
No, moving on to League of Legends. I not meant to segue that way at all, but I was just thinking because League ruled the day for that IEM. We do have League of Legends news this week. Cloud9 released their highly propped up, highly anticipated and excited, again, speaking of North American esports, making a return, Last Shadow, LS, as everyone calls him, stands for Last Shadow, was recruited, big old hoopla, couple matches into the season, though, Mitch, and 4 hours before a match, the day of an LCS match, released. What do you know?
Okay, what do I know? So, obviously, if you watched anything from Cloud9, you know fuck all. What do I know about LS? So for those who don't know, LS is a extremely charismatic, very academically oriented analyst and coach in League of Legends with a troubled past. Definitely a very strong personality, not subtle by any stretch of the imagination, and definitely had his own fair share of notoriety as a streamer and competitor on South Korea's League of Legends ladder. He also coached T1 for a brief stint before being removed very quickly because of the backlash from fans in South Korea who really disliked him because of an interaction I think he had with a Korean player. I don't think he was a pro player, but he was a sort of a streamer. And there's been a few different teams he's been on in the past. Anybody that watches this guy knows that he knows League of Legends. The guy can speak to the game really well, has a very strong philosophy about the game, and very strong opinions, not afraid to express them. I would consider him to be a relatively abrasive personality, but in some cases those can be effective, especially when it comes to being results oriented in League of Legends. Obviously, dropping a coach 4 hours before a game is pretty pretty crazy. And what we understand is that this was a bit of a surprise to LS as well. In the aftermath of this, the players were frankly soft throwing their games. They and what I mean by that is that they still won. I think they played against TSM in one of them, and they built Leandry's Torment. I think Blabber built it or Fudge or someone like that. They made some itemization choices that didn't make a whole lot of sense. Could be considered throwing that, and we're supposed to send a message. Leandry's Torment is like the image of it is like a mask with crying. So there might be some significance to Leandry's that I don't know about. But the players looked like they were complicit in this protest about the decision made to remove LS at such short notice. So yeah, there you have it. Cloud9 obviously had to make a statement about this. They take a long time to do so. And then classically in esports fashion, they sit 4 people in front of a camera, they light the room professionally, and then these 3 sit and look while Jack explains the situation in as little detail as possible. The justification for this decision from Jack's perspective, I suppose in a vacuum, is reasonable. Citing things like fitting into structure, fitting into culture, general misalignment of ethos when it comes to what they want from this team. I want to point out that Blabber, who sat here on the right, was complicit in this soft flooring, I think, in terms of like what items he bought. So he's probably had to be dragged into line. The gentleman on the left of Jack is Max Waldo, who's the current head coach now, and someone I think who worked under or with LS for quite a long time. There's no reason to play audio here because Jack doesn't say anything that's really worth hearing. Listen, I know it's really hard to give an understanding to fans. Fans want to know everything. They want to know all the dirty laundry. They want the juice because they're so conditioned by these leak journalists now who just give them this behind the scenes details that this is what people have been conditioned to expect. So no announcement with any sort of PR abstraction is ever going to be acceptable to fans. It's never enough. Unless it's like straight up Jack shitting on LS, very unprofessional, potentially harming his future opportunities outside of the fact that now, he'll have 2 very short coaching stints with top teams on his resume back to back. It's never enough for people. So there's a lot of discussion about this. And people are speculating a whole lot because there wasn't really much said in the announcement. Because there was a lack of detail, lack of granularity, Scott, people were inclined to insert some ideas. So I read through it. A lot of it's kind of garbage. I read this train from Monty, which is basically trying. I think it sort of mirrors what Jack says. So for those who don't know, Monty's very involved in the League of Legends scene once more after moving away from Overwatch. So he obviously is developing, I think, a content network as well, and he's on Summoning Insight and stuff like that. So he says to provide some insight on this. So this first statement, Scott, indicates that he might actually have some background information. Now, why would Monte Cristo know this? Well, Monte Cristo is paid by Cloud9. So, in some senses, he's sort of employed by Cloud9. Now, that might not be the correct term to use in his case, but he's also in bed with Dan Fiden. On B side, he's worked with Flashpoint, that's heavily bankrolled by Dan Fiden, who owns Cloud9. So you have to understand these guys are all. And I worked with Cloud9 and Monty because of Monty on a esports rap show, not unlike this one. But basically, Monty's saying, look, Cloud9 has spent a long time trying to set up these systems, and they want to implement these systems across all their teams. Monty says the LoL roster has been the first to implement these structures, and they've been successful. Well, I mean, moderately so. I mean, I wouldn't say the other regions of this team have been all that great. Counter-Strike's starting to look a little bit better, but Valorant rather, but there's reasons for that.
Psych.
He's basically saying that like they would have had to change these systems they spent a long time erecting to have LS have his way. You know what I mean? LS didn't want to do it the quote unquote C9 way, and he's saying like, oh look, this is a conflict of systems. Have some thoughts on that?
Yeah,
that's where we're at, Scott. That's what we.
Thank you for that update. So back to Jack's statement. Here's where I think where they got themselves in a little bit of trouble, and obviously, yeah, it looks like he's surrounded himself with some props. You know, and there's even like
warm props.
Like sponsors even play on the LS B-roll. Like their sponsors come up, or maybe that's B-roll of LCS and it's their sponsors, but like not good B-roll for that kind of stuff. If you're are you putting ads in your news post here? But where I think they shot themselves in the foot is what we got from Cloud9 is two statements that said nothing. Right? That 4 hours before the match, we got a graphic press release saying LS has been released. Right? Then we get this nothing press conference, right? Sure. You could have just added 5 more sentences to the first press release and explained that you did not see eye to eye on your systems and on yada, 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 and you drop one notice and be done with it. Why he got so much heat is they said the same thing, nothing, twice, right? And once really fancily, right? So just... You should have told us that 48 hours earlier, that, it was a conflict of process, right? And he's not going to adapt to us. We're not adapting to him. So we're going to go our separate ways. Didn't work out. It looked good on paper. When we all started talking to each other in real life, it wasn't a good idea. Cool. And I think to Monty's point, he got some shit like he was defending Cloud9. What are you, on the payroll? Are you defending Cloud9? I don't look at it as defending Cloud9. I look at it like you look at it. If he's working with Cloud9, he's probably got some inside fucking info that we should maybe listen to, because I think Monty is a good resource of nuanced, reasonable takes and info. Yeah, he likes to push buttons, but like this kind of stuff, he's trying to tell you fucking something, right? So that's when you want to listen, right? And yeah, he's telling you something that's probably true because he hears it from the people that make these decisions, right? Now, what I would say to what his logic was maybe it's working in League of Legends, because I read that and I went, okay, they got a system in place. Okay, they're trying to get this going everywhere. Let's go. How do you judge how a esports team is doing in our space? Do you go look at what they're valued at? Do you go look at how many sponsors are on their T-shirts? Or
you look at their results.
Let's go look at what we can look at. Let's go look at their results. So I went and looked at Esports Earning, loved the website. And first thing I compared was, how is Cloud9 as an esports team? How much are they winning in comparison to everybody else? And yes, I do know that when you start getting into teams that have been involved in Dota, that can very easily skew prize winning very quickly, right? A League of Legends, not so much. Counter-Strike, not so much. But Dota, Liquid winning a Dota can drastically change that. Anyway, so I go look, and I start looking at when Cloud9 was in the last top 10 of esports teams, all their games winning money, right? You have to go all the way back to 2015 for Cloud9 to be in the top 10 aggregate, all the games, all the big teams, everything they play, right? 2015. Right.
That was an awful year for their League of Legends team, for the record.
There you go, right?
Not a good year for Sinner.
So, to Monty's point, their coaching system is starting with League of Legends, right? So, okay, so we're not gonna detract that they don't do well in the other games. But then you look at the 3 games that they actually have done well in, prize money wise, right? Counter-Strike, Dota, League of Legends. So they won a major in Counter-Strike. There's a good chunk of that prize purse, and they've done quite well. I don't think they never won an international, but I think they've stacked up pretty well in Dota to win good chunks of prize money, right? And then obviously their League of Legends team was 3rd. So maybe maybe their LCS and their League of Legends coaching hasn't caught up to the rest of their games quite yet. And obviously, they don't even have a fucking Counter-Strike team anymore. But so then I went, okay,
right, that went to shit.
That went to shit. And obviously, that was Henry. There probably wasn't a, overarching Cloud9. It'd be interesting if Henry came out and said the reason Counter-Strike failed was they made me use their system. That would be funny. But then I go, let's take it for what it's worth. Monty's talking about League of Legends. In specific, that system started with League. To his credit, and because you got to give credit where credit's due, right? I filtered it all and went, let's look at how they do in comparison to everybody else in League of Legends. They're like top 9. They're in top 10. I want to say they're 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, somewhere in there. Historically for...
In NA or globally?
Globally. They are the best in NA. Prize money overall, all the years, T1 at the top. And
they usually make quarterfinals in Worlds, to be honest.
Right? So, in that sense, maybe this system they're talking about, again, to give credit where maybe it's due, they are seeing, the analysts, the people in charge of this at Cloud9, they are seeing positive traction in League of Legends, and so therefore it is ruling their decisions. Now, where it still gets weird, and I still go, okay, I get it. I'll give you all the credit for that. You got a system. You want to fucking go with it. You absolutely either... Did LS say he was going to come play in your system? Because that didn't go well. You knew what you were recruiting, and it didn't. So did he change his mind? Did he go, oh, fuck, on second thought, I don't want to do this? Or like, what happened? Because he's not, to your point, very well-known entity, personality-wise, coaching style-wise. There are very little unknowns in the world of LS, right? And because everyone is saying that it would have become L9, right? And that's what all the fucked up thing about it is. That's what and I'm not a League of Legends guy, but that seems like that's what the League of Legends fans were so excited about, was that LS was coming to Cloud9 to change and to bring his system, Korea, the whole 9 yards. Remember, this guy also started as a StarCraft player in Korea, right? Not a Korean guy, right? A foreigner in a foreign land, started with StarCraft before he moved to League. So, like, what happened? What is this huge disconnect from recruiting this world-famous guy with a system to the system didn't work? How does that happen so quickly, right? Or are they all lying? It has nothing to do with a system, nothing to do with a, conflict in how we like to coach, and did some shit go down that everyone is protecting everybody on? Did we have some fucking heated gamer moments happen behind the scenes? I don't know. But it just seems like if you're so into your coaching system, how are you going to recruit a guy that's either not behind that system or not acquiesce to his system? That's where the disconnect seems to be for me. But
look,
yeah.
I mean, you asked the right question. I think from what I know about LS, and to explain in chat, this is a person I coach, a fairly well-known individual in the League of Legends scene.
Yes.
I don't think you're going to get him out of South Korea unless you promise him that he can have carte blanche in terms of instituting his coaching style. I don't see that. He's coached like T1, Barbecue Olivers. He was CLG for a time on Tempo Storm. I mean, I remember. Yeah, God, he's the original Gamers 2, which before they became G2 kind of thing. Which I think, by the way, that never eventuated. But look, the guy.
Yeah, there was drama there with that team.
I am struggling. Like, if I had to choose, if I had to make a judgment call, then I put all the blame on Cloud9 because they should have known what they were getting themselves into, and they just wasted all our time, and then they wasted even more of my time with this dog shit video that wasn't authentic at all. So, okay.
Yeah.
Here's what I think that people don't understand. People don't understand these fucking, I don't want to say they're boomers because Jack's been in the industry for a long time, but these people don't understand that if you get people, warm props, these players to sit there and fucking show you the cheesy smile while you just say nothing for 30 seconds, that it doesn't resonate with people. Here's a great example of a clip that said basically just as much as Jack did, but the way it was shot made it much more authentic. This is Nadeshot talking about why they dropped Baby J and Eccles from their team. Another great example this week of an org picking up 2 players, flying one of them overseas to getting him a visa to play, and then fucking dropping them pretty much straight away. Spot the fucking difference. Nate Shot, by the way, clever bastard, doesn't really say all that much here at all. He's like, look, I mean, you know, culture and fit and, you know, wish him all the best. This dopey fuck says nothing, right? But the composition of this video, the way it's shot, it's just, you know, has an element of scuff. He sat in front of his phone. He's probably looking at something to his left, but that doesn't matter. There's no lighting. He hasn't pulled anyone out there just to fucking stare at the camera. It's just his phone. When will esports organizations understand that trying to dress their turds up in a fucking bow and sprinkle glitter on it does not make it any more resonant with fans? Just fucking get your phone out and talk to people. Esports fans do not want that shit. Sponsors wants that shit, but who gives a fuck about them?
Well, and that's what I was going to bring up.
It's so easy.
This is a prime example. And again, we're not even talking about the context of what they're saying because they both basically say nothing while saying nothing. Yeah. But the delivery, the down-to-earth, the grassroots, and obviously they're two very different human beings. Nate Shot streams, and he's a personality.
Nate Shot,
he's in front.
He studied under Hex.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He knows how to build brands and reach people.
And the funny thing about it is what we just witnessed there was a video made for investors and sponsors and a video made for fans. That's what the difference of those two videos are. Or that's who they're... At least
feels like.
Yeah, whether it's intentional or not. Because, yeah, Jack, like, fuck your white balance, like, become one of us, like... And again, like, obviously, Nate's playing the game, too,
this from
right?
a fucking XR studio, by the way. You know, a fucking XR studio, lots of money in this place, fancy as fuck. This place even sets on fire. Stick around, you'll see that later. So I want to point out the obvious irony in that, but I don't think you and I pretend to be anything that we aren't.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? We are just two turds that walked into a bar with flashing LEDs.
I mean, I'm just beholden to the investors till they pull the plug, you know, but, you know... Which, you know, if you people don't start fucking watching, man, we're going to be in trouble. Speaking of fire, here comes the fire early. Oh, shit. Cue the fire. Man. All right. So, yeah, so we'll keep, you know, yeah, we'll see what happens. You know, because also, like, yeah, Nate Shot's Valorant team is a dumpster fire. 16 players since the game came out they've signed so far. So, like, again, like he's just making better looking videos, not necessarily better videos in the sense of like what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Let's just be clear there.
People were much more receptive to it, man. This is what I'm saying.
Totally.
And all you need to do is just dress your shit down. It might seem counterintuitive to people that come into the space that want to see really big production value, but look at like how co-streams work, right? Why are co-streams taking off? Like, look at XQC's stream. The less production value that you try and use, the more authentic you as an individual come across because all these people are home, live in fucking scuffed places as well. Like that, you know, anyway,
time and a place for that.
It's the difference between millennial and between Gen Z and Zoomer, right? Millennials love to like project an image of prestige and money and power and fame or whatever, like on Instagram and stuff like that. I think I've talked about this before. It doesn't work on Zoomers. They don't do that. They want authenticity. They don't want people. They see through images, projected images that people show on social media. So just keep that in mind. Fuck me, it's not hard to market to Zoomers. It's actually really easy because you don't have to spend that much money. You just have to fucking be honest.
Yep. Good take. One more little note before the break. We wanted to do a check-in on Iron Mouse. Iron Mouse has set another record. She is still crushing her subathon and thought we'd give her a little bit more love. If you're not familiar, she is a VTuber. Obviously, VTuber's been breaking out last couple years. She especially been doing a subathon. Last time we reported on her, she was the top. She had set the new record for top women subscriber. But now she has taken the #1 active concurrent Twitch streamer. Now, Ludwig still holds the overall record of 170,000 people subscribed to him at once, but she is now currently holding the top spot. And he did that during his crazy subathon. Crazy stuff. And again, her story is so tragic, but so heartwarming at the same time. Very ill, bedridden, a couple diseases that keep her that way, but likes to entertain, you know, but obviously being on camera herself, not necessarily a great look, but she's figured out through the world of VTubing and the technology that she can put herself out there in a whole new way. And again, just crushing it. So great to see. Just fucking cool to see. I don't understand the VTubers and the craziness of what they do and the virtual streamers and the chats and all that. But like, again, I am an old guy. So, but we're just really cool to see that it's blowing up like that for her.
I love her.
Yeah,
she's great. I watched her YouTube channel. There's a great video where like a friend of hers is like in Japan, I think, and she's like overlaid onto the GoPro footage, or like it's like a
Oh,
video call or whatever. And he's basically taking her around Japan and like buying stuff. Oh, it was really heartwarming. I don't know. I just like it.
ah,
It's yeah, it's cool content. So yeah, look, speaking of people we're big fans of,
yes.
coming up after the break, Mr. Scoots, we're gonna have Ben Goldhaber on the show, of course. A good friend, obviously. FishStix has been around for a heck of a long time, and you wouldn't think it, looking at how youthful this gentleman is, but he's got a just a real wealth of experience in the esports scene. We're gonna be talking to him about all things Twitch, Juked, his career before, and what's coming up next. So stick around for that one on the other side of the break. We're gonna chat with FishStix. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the breakdown after the first half. Of course, we saved the best for last here in this show. We do have an interview, a big interview to bring to everybody here, Scoos. What's on the docket for us on this half of the show?
Well, we've got Ben with us. FishStix is joining us, talking about all things Juked, but we're going to catch up with him in typical, like, historical background. Then we got the rivalry rapid fire, and then maybe some audience questions. But yeah, we went a little late with our first half, so this is all about Ben. Ben.
I'm sitting pretty. I'm ready. That music is groovy. I'm in the mood. Let's do this.
All right, so obviously, look, what I want to do is sort of build your profile as we kind of go through this interview, man, because you've really, you've been around esports for a long time and have been involved in like a ton of different projects. Obviously, you're celebrating so the launch of your platform, Juked, here on mobile devices. So why don't you give us a bit of a breakdown about that sort of high level, and maybe we'll delve into the details a little bit in a moment.
Sure. We just launched our esports app on the iOS store last week, less than a week ago. So it's been out publicly for just a couple of days. And we've been working really hard on this damn app, man. We've been toiling away for the last 9-10 months or more at this point to get to this exact moment. And we're really excited to be here. The app is kind of the culmination of work that maybe we'll get into this, but work that I've been doing in the space for actually well more than a decade. So we're really, really excited to get the app to market. And if you don't know what it is, it's basically a mix between ESPN, so esports scores, schedules, news, curated push notifications about your favorite esports teams right on your phone, and Reddit. So we've also got a social networking component where you're going to see a news feed with user-generated content about the esports teams and games that you follow. So basically, it's like a social network that cuts straight to the point and just gives you the esports content and the scores and the schedules and everything you need to follow your favorite teams in one place. Join a community. It's great. If you're iOS, please check us out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, just a one-stop shop and a hub for those that really love esports and want to keep abreast of everything, I guess, going on. But let's roll it back. Let's go way back, because obviously every story has an origin. I want to talk about sort of your first forays into gaming and esports, because you particularly, and I know a few other people, fell in love with quite a unique shooter game, one that some people might actually not be aware of if they come from like a Counter-Strike or like more of a COD background like I did. So tell us about your love of Tribes and how that sort of fermented and how it progressed.
All right, how long do we have? Damn, we're going all the way back. So I was the tender age of 11 years old and had never played any first-person shooters, had never played any online games, but I went over to my friend's house and he had this game called Tribes, and it was insane. You're flying around this big open. You have to remember, this is 1998. Like, the games that people were playing were Counter-Strike, were Quake. You're in an arena. It's really tight. It's really claustrophobic. Tribes is like big blue sky, rolling hills, and you are cruising. You are moving across them because you got a jetpack and you're able to move really fast. So, well, in games like Quake, you have strafe jumping where you can abuse the physics of Quake to move very quickly. In Tribes, you had something called skiing, which basically, like, you have a jetpack that regenerates, so you can go up really high. And then you could abuse the physics by jumping constantly when you go down the other side to have zero friction. So you use gravity and your jetpack's regeneration to go up and down until eventually you're going a couple hundred miles an hour, and it's capture the flag mode. So you go as fast as you can, you grab the flag, you get home, and nothing will ever be as good as Tribes. I will say that with utter certainty. Is the best game ever. I actually still play someone like made a spiritual successor called Midair that has been in like closed alpha for 5 years for some reason. and I still play it on a regular basis. I still play pickups because it's the best. I just love it.
Now, what about the High Res remake, my friend? What did you think about the High Res Tribes?
I liked it. I mean, Tribes Ascend, like for me, being part of the Tribes community for so many years, literally decades at this point. The fact that we got another new Tribes at all just makes me happy. I'm not one of those people that's gonna shit on everything new because it doesn't perfectly meet my tastes. Is it my favorite Tribes? No. Is it my second favorite Tribes? No. But it was a free-to-play Tribes that brought literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people into the game, which I was stoked about. And I played competitively. I did tournament organizing. I did shoutcasting. So I loved Tribes Ascend. Not as much as the other Tribes games, though.
Yeah, an interesting little Counter-Strike trivia bit. TSN, which became one of our mainstays when it came to broadcasters, audio first and then video. Yep. Jason worked for them. DJ Wheat worked for them. They started as the Tribes Sportscast Network. That's what TSN standed for. And then when Tribes started going away and they started doing Quake and Counter-Strike, they changed it to Team. But it was Tribes originally, Hunter and those guys. So, yeah, again, one of the early platforms that, again, kind of got, I guess, pushed to the side a little bit. Now, you talk about, not being one to, nitpick games, and you certainly are not one because you also were boldly the only one on the planet, Ben.
Oh, God, we're going
to
here.
think that Brink, I know the control room is like, I can't even Google that game to look that up. Brink.
Oh, man.
Ben thought Brink was going to be the greatest esport. I think a lot of us were excited for Brink, but yeah, you really were excited for Brink, my friend, back in the day.
So, look, I mean, us, like,
did you think we were just going to talk about Juked? Did you think it was just going to be about Juked?
No.
Okay.
But like there's this cohort of gamers that play all of the like hipster FPS titles, like the really skill-based, the really team-based ones. So Quake, Tribes, Enemy Territory is up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's also got strafe jumping. It's also got really tight team play. I fucking loved Enemy Territory Quake Wars, which also puts me out on a limb because nobody's ever heard of that game. Yeah. And I loved Enemy Territory in general, just because of the movement and the team. So, Brink was the new game by the developers of Enemy Territory.
Yeah.
And it was built in Tech 4, which was their first mistake. Engine was god awful. But yeah, I mean, you have to remember, Scoots, like, I actually remember specifically one of the very first esports events I ever worked was Devastation 2009.
Oh yeah.
I was working with you guys. I was working with Live on 3, DJ Weed, /SirScoots, and I was like, guys, we got to pump up Brink. It's gonna be dope. It's gonna be amazing. But like, you have to remember how bad of a drought we were in for FPS games. Like Counter-Strike Global Offensive didn't come out for years.
Oh yeah.
And even when it did come out, it was terrible for the first 1 to 2 years. We were just in this epic drought where in esports, it was fighting games, it was StarCraft.
Here it is.
It was Dota. Dota was emerging. League of Legends was emerging, but like nobody gave a shit about FPS in esports at that time because it was 1.6, and like 1.6 just wasn't that big in the West. In NA.
Yeah.
In Europe, it was still doing well. So I was just salivating and hungry, man. I wanted to will it into existence. I think that's the story of my career, trying to will things into existence as hard as I can.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely rode cutting edges at the start of games. Obviously, you were one of the forefronts of the early Overwatch movement from the beta day one on. You were trying to build that community. Obviously, Activision Blizzard shut it down on all you guys for quite a while, but you were all over that, right? So again, very much one of us. You brought up you asked if we would talk about some of your history, and we're definitely gonna. Juked is not a new idea for you, and I want to get back to that. And I also want to bring up the point that Jason and I started Do Not Peek at roughly the same time Ben was starting Juked. And like, I think my very first breakdown a couple years ago, I had you record a little interview about this thing you were doing, and we played it, like one of the very first episodes. So it's kind of cool to see how you've progressed from, a couple years ago, pre-pandemic, to where you guys are now, getting ready to drop on your second phone platform very soon, right? But we'll get to Juked. I want to talk about Gamescast TV. 2009 is the year. You just brought it up. You brought up Devastation. This is the trailer for, and by the way, does Marcus still hate you for mispronouncing, like, capital wheat? Gamecast TV was exactly, in a way, what you're doing now but ahead of its time. Streaming hadn't quite blown up, but you were already thinking, like, man, we got platforms that are competing. How do we find what to watch? You know, I always said, dude, you're building the TV guide of esports. And a lot of people will be like, what the fuck is a TV guide? Because they didn't have, like, I think it still exists as a product, but back in the day, you had to literally buy a TV guide. It sat on your living room fucking coffee table, and that's how you looked up what was on TV. And you were, again, so way ahead of your time, but talk to us about this moment in time, because it's obviously retrospective now, but Gamecast TV.
I mean, to this day, I couldn't really explain to you why I became so obsessed with not just one esport game. Because, like, right, my Tribes is my background. I went on to Enemy Territory, I went on to Quake, all these, whatever. As soon as live streaming started to take off, and I saw, hey, there's a Street Fighter tournament with 20,000 people watching, which at the time was completely mind-blowing for Evo. There's a Heroes of New Earth tournament on a weekend that's just like an online tournament. It's got 12,000 current viewers. That was mind-blowing to me at the time. And I just became completely, utterly obsessed with following everything that was happening across these different games, regardless if I was part of that community or even cared about that game or even knew how to play that game at all. I don't know why. Like, I think just the notion of esports growing was just so exciting to me at the time that, a couple of friends and I got together and we built a website back in 2009, which aggregated esports streams from different platforms. So at the time, Twitch was not out. Twitch didn't exist. So streams were split across all these different sites. Ustream was actually the major player. Like DJ Marcus used to do Live on 3 on Ustream, and most, like, Day9 used to be on Ustream. All these people used to be on Ustream. But Livestream was a player. Justin TV before Twitch was a player, and then Own3D was a player. I'm like, it is literally impossible to know what's happening in esports because it's just so fragmented. So we built this website, which basically, it was super simple. It was like the beta, alpha, super early version of Juked that simply just aggregated esports streams from these different existing platforms. And that, I don't know why I was so obsessed, but it was a really, really fun project to work on. And I'm really glad I did, because that was literally the perfect experience, which eventually landed me my job at Justin TV before the launch of Twitch, just like 2 years later. So Gamescast and Juked, there's a lot of kindred spirit going on there.
Yeah. Is anyone other than you that was involved back then in the company?
No. I actually, when we first started, like, building the prototype for Juked, I, like, called up Mattcom, like, I don't know if anyone remembers that name, but I called up Mattcom, who did all the designs for Gamescast TVD, and I was like, let's do some shit together. But didn't end up working together on it. So it's all new people.
Gotcha.
But of course, my co-founder Chris, I've known him forever. We've been talking about this idea for just forever.
So let's move forward. So again, we met each other at the Devastation events. Like you said, you were doing a lot of networking with DJ Weed and Slasher and all that. We needed some help and Live on 3 productions, if you will. Got to do a couple live events. Devastation was a fighting game tournament here in Phoenix, Arizona, thrown every couple of years. So we got the gig for that. I brought my TriCaster and we did it. And we got a photo of the gang here. This is so fucking funny. We were laughing at this today, Ben. A lot of this is right off that you did a retrospective a couple years ago on your career. And so this is, again, 2009, Phoenix Convention Center. I still, to this day, remember yelling at Slasher to get the fuck off my stage. Oh, that guy. Still pushing.
I remember that too.
This fucking.
It was terrifying.
This goddamn. This picture's triggering me. Anyway, and then we worked one more time together officially as Live on 3. I'm wearing the shirt this morning. I'm like, what am I gonna wear today on the shirt? I'm like, this is from LA, and I gained a lot of weight after that, so I haven't worn it for it, but now I've lost weight, so it fits again. But this WCG, this is that LA event we did together, US qualifiers.
Yeah.
And again, you tell the cute little story that I gave you a paycheck, your first paycheck, which was cool that we were able to get enough monetization from WCG to pay people, again, and not enough to cover anyone's expenses, but at least something, right? And the funny thing about that, Ben, that fucking show, I remember last day, Sunday night, we've done every game but League of Legends. EG, I help run EG. I'm an EG guy at that point still while we're doing live on 3 on the side. We qualified as the Counter-Strike team, right? We had to sit Tommy, our in-game leader, because he's Finnish. But anyway, we had all that had done. Counter-Strike had won. And then we got to do this League of Legends this match, right? This final match. And all the League of Legends people show up. Rivington, brand new League of Legends kid. This guy Freak has a USB in his hand. And he's like, you guys can't touch this. What's the observer rig? And Neha, good friend of all ours. Neha is working for Riot at the time. She shows up to help with production. And, and they've got the first ever observer client of League of Legends, right? Doesn't exist yet. Long before, obviously, LCS or anything. And we do this and this thing takes forever. We get the event, the match is going, teams are playing. And I remember sitting at the TriCaster and I'm just like tired, cranky, and I have no idea what I'm watching because it's just fucking sprites and I don't know League of Legends. I'm like, what is this fucking free-to-play game? Whatever. And I keep looking at Neha and I'm like, is it going to be over soon? Look at my watch. Neha, is it going to be over? And she's like, oh yeah, this battle should lead to something. Battle leads to nothing. That took felt like hours to end this match. But to your point, I keep watching the viewer count and it's destroying anything we've done all weekend in the sense of how many people are watching. And I'm like, Neha. And she's like, yeah, dude, it's a really popular game. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm a Counter-Strike guy, right? What the fuck? Blown away. And obviously League of Legends now. And I remember a couple years later bumping into Rachel at that IPL in Atlantic City. And she's like, keep an eye on this room down the hallway. And I'm like, what? The League of Legends room? Shut the fuck up. She's like, no, dude. I'm like, shut up. You're high. Most popular game on the fucking planet. Shows how little I know. Anyway, so let's move into you get a job at Twitch because all this leads to you do some networking, Slasher, social media world of Slasher. You decide, what you want to maybe do in life for a little while, and you start knocking on Twitch's door. Kind of walk us through joining Justin TV, I should say, not Twitch, right? And Zarth, joining what might have been Zarth.
What might have been Zarth. So this just goes I feel like everyone in esports has a story like this. Like I got lucky. I met the right person at the right time who introduced me to this other person. And then I went to this event. Everyone has this story. I think the take home message for anyone who's looking to get in the industry is you make your own luck. Because it was volunteering and working with you guys a bunch of times. It was harassing Slasher all the time to whatever. That's how I got my foot in the door at Justin TV, right? So Slasher introduced me to Kevin Lin, who is the COO of Justin TV at the time. And they wanted to try investing in video games, in esports, to see if that can grow, if that could become big. So this is back in 2010, when esports streaming was just barely starting to take off. Like the Team Liquid directory for StarCraft 2 beta was starting to pump all these viewers to StarCraft streamers, and all right, let's bring someone in from the esports community to try and grow this. And I already lived in the Bay Area. San Francisco is where Justin TV is based. And Slasher introduced me, and building Gamescast TV, I literally knew 80% of the people who were streaming any kind of esports content at the time. So, and they were on all these other platforms. So they said, okay, you come here and get all of these streamers who are on these different platforms to switch over. So that was my first job. And I got Live on 3. I got, JP. I got everyone who was streaming on Ustream. I got all these people to switch because I already knew all of you really well. I was already friends with you guys. Well, I didn't know you really well yet. I know you guys well now, but we're becoming friends. And gaming was blowing up. Literally, that was the moment that the team said, okay, this is no longer an experiment. We're going to spin off and build a whole company around gaming and esports streaming, which, believe it or not, Twitch, when it was first launched, was primarily about esports. There weren't a lot of influencers didn't exist yet at that time. So it was all about esports. So I joined the team. I hired Gunrun. He was the first person I hired because everyone fucking sucked at streaming at the time. Nobody knew how to do it at all. And Gunrun was like, if you pull it into your browser this way and you capture that way, then you get a little bit better frames per second and it doesn't tax your CPU as much. So we hired Gunrun, we hired Elaine, and that became the original Twitch partnerships team. We launched the company that June, just a couple of months after I joined. It was incredible. It was such an incredible ride to be part of that.
And obviously, this is a platform that really kind of exploded, right? Not only did it, it started with these grassroots motivations, and you brought over a lot of the core of the streamers to the platform. But I want to hear about sort of the years in between, because obviously the platform experiences this crazy growth. Like, what's that like? And then obviously Amazon, getting involved, and I guess sort of taking over in that regard. Like, I'd love to know your thoughts on this stretch of time, because for those that don't know, like, humble beginnings for sure, but I mean the platform blew up.
Yeah, it blew up like crazy. We had our fair share of adversity. Like, Twitch sucked in Europe. Like, we didn't have data centers out there. Whenever DreamHack happened, our entire site goes down every single time. Like, for the first 2 years, everyone hated Twitch. Like, half of my job was apologizing for the first couple of years. And then there was platforms like Own3D, which, if you're old school, you remember, they were a very legitimate competitor because they had those data centers in Europe. And so it wasn't like this smooth, easy transition. It was hustling every single day to get streamers to switch, to find new ways to help them monetize, to find new ways to get them more viewers and give them fame and all these things. But I mean, as somebody that was completely obsessed with esports, I honestly never thought I would get a full-time job at esports. I never once was like, that was never my goal. I thought it was going to be a hobby that I spent too much time on. But so to go from just an incredible fan of esports to, I'm not just working in esports professionally, but I'm getting a paycheck, and I'm having a chance to like meaningfully impact the industry. It was an absolute dream come true. And we hustled and we traveled all around the world. Got to go to Sweden twice a year for like 5 years straight for DreamHack. Got to go to Cologne, Germany, where you lived for quite some time, Mitch, for Gamescom every year. Got to go to Japan and Korea, and of course, like Atlanta and like Texas and like the shitty little convention centers by the airport. And so it's not all glamorous, but got to travel the world doing it too, which is it was a true dream come true. It really, really was.
Question for you, in regards to like a shift. You mentioned, and it's a really valid point, when this all started, like the main content, the main draw was esports related tournaments. There were very few influencer type streamers, right? Like, the numbers were coming off of esports type events, StarCraft, etc. Where do you see the shift? Like, what year? And can you pinpoint a game release or a set of streamers? Like, I was just thinking earlier today, like, because I was going to ask you this. I'm going to ask you both. Who's the first non-esport stream gaming related you watched? For me, it's Lyric. Lyric is the first non-endemic-y watching Counter-Strike, watching StarCraft. Like, this guy's fucking funny. I'm going to watch him play a video game. For me, it was Lyric. What about for you, Mitch? And then what about for you, Ben? And then, Ben, you got a year or a time frame that, like, the shift happened at Twitch? Like, oh, fuck, influencers are all these people, and esports is popular, but not, like, that shift has obviously happened. So, yeah. You first, Mitch. Who'd you watch?
Honestly, I wasn't interested in any of them until Seagull was streaming. And I guess that was sort of esports related still, but yeah, I was a big Seagull fan.
Anyone now that you watch that's unrelated to your crafts and your esports, etc.?
Oh, fucking a ton of people. I watch VTubers. I watch like Lang Buddha, I watch Blaustoys. I watch a lot of like the RPers.
GTA role playing.
Well.
Oh, GTA. God.
Yeah, a ton.
Moon's the best.
GTA role plays are hilarious, man. I love the off the cuff stuff. I actually try and adapt some of that for my craft because it's very clever what they do.
Well, yeah, and when Lyric went into like the Lean Boys, oh god, that was the best of both worlds for me. Because anyway, Ben, for you, who did you watch first and went, oh shit, and not an esports person, and then can you kind of pinpoint a big shift in the company?
Yeah, I mean, I worked at the company, so I was very familiar with everyone doing it. I think the folks that stand out are like Dan's Gaming, Man versus Game. Those were some of the Justin TV streamers who, like, when Twitch launched, they were the first kind of variety streamers. I think Lyric was really shortly after that. I think Lyric was probably the first streamer who built like identified the model of, hey, I can actually stream 8 hours a day and grow this thing.
Yeah.
Like, no other streamer at the time most streamers stream for 2 hours, like once a week, right? But he was like, I'm streaming 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week or 6 days a week. And, that's, literally that's how you have to do it. Like, otherwise you're never going to become a big Twitch streamer, right? Like, it's almost impossible without that kind of dedication. So, I mean, I would agree. Lyric does stand out. When did Fortnite come out? That's my question.
Do you think that was the big shift? Like a gamer influencer?
It was absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'll clarify, because before then, streamers were absolutely huge, individual streamers, but it was White Raw, and it was, Double Lip. I mean, I'm like forgetting the really old League of Legends names, but it was some of those guys who played on Dignitas, like Cutie-Pie, and like, yeah, it was Nijaki, it was Cutie Pie, like,
got you.
But they were pro players, like, so
Voy Boy.
It wasn't. Yeah, Voy Boy, absolutely, yeah. Names like Destiny actually come to mind.
Sure. But
I mean,
still out of a
it was
competitive
Fortnite
background.
and Ninja that changed everything.
Okay,
yeah.
fair enough.
I mean, obviously, Ninja is a competitive player. He played Fortnite competitively, but like, not really esports.
I guess it is safe to say that that game blew it up in 12 million ways around us, for sure. Just from its mainstream presence. Okay, cool.
So then, okay, let's keep moving. So let's talk about what precipitated your departure from Twitch. You know what I mean? Obviously, there was a plan. You had something big to work on. But sort of, how did this all go?
Yeah, I mean, I think Twitch went through the evolution that a lot of startups go through, where they go from a startup to a big company. And at a certain point, we had been purchased by Amazon for $1 billion in 2014. There were a couple of years after that where Twitch didn't change like on the next day. It was still Twitch, but slowly and surely the priorities shift, and it goes less from community focus, more to monetization, more to let's go mainstream in every way possible. So, I mean, to be quite frank, folks like me, who my best attribute was like, I know everybody in esports and I'm directly connected to the community, and I'm good at speaking community, that becomes way less valuable for a company like Twitch that's just blowing up like insane, and looking to become the next YouTube. So folks like me, like, I was pushing, frankly, to build an esports portal for years upon years. I'm like, guys, this doesn't exist. It's super hard. If we build this, sales team is, I'm telling the sales team about this, like, oh, hell yes, we're going to sell this up, down and center. Like, this is going to be amazing. But from a product perspective, I could never convince Emmett, our CEO, that it was worth building a product for esports on the platform. So the priorities shifted. And eventually Twitch said, hey, we're just going to cut off our community department. Like, Marcus's team, many layoffs on the content side. We were doing Twitch Weekly, and like the big wigs and execs are like, Twitch Weekly, I don't give a shit about that. That's what, 15,000, 20,000 concurrent viewers once a week. That doesn't impact us. We were speaking to the community, but they didn't care. They didn't care about that. So it was time to go. It was time to split. I couldn't get any momentum on the esports stuff I wanted to do. All of my hires that I would submit to HR would get approved. We'd interview people, and then before I sent the offer, they would say, "Oh, just kidding. The headcount went to engineering." So it was time to get out and pursue this thing, which became Juked.
I do have one more question related to your time at Twitch. Can you confirm or deny that you are the one that spent $45 million or whatever it was on the Overwatch broadcast rights?
Thanks for the money, cunts.
Because DJ Weed is not happy with you right now. No,
look, I'm not in the same boat. I'm not in the same boat as Marcus and Atrioc and everyone who is saying it was the dumbest deal in history. Because, like, honestly, Overwatch League actually exceeded season 1, vastly exceeded our internal expectations for viewership. Like, You got 450,000 concurrent viewers on the first broadcast. I mean,
Yeah, people have short memories, man. You know,
people have really short memories. Year one was excellent. It was getting 100,000 concurrent viewers every day of the week that they broadcasted. Was I decision making? No, absolutely not. I was not. I was not part of the decision making process. I was part of the team that helped onboard Overwatch League, that helped set up all their channels, that helped do all the marketing. But I was not part of the decision making.
Yeah.
I was very happy that it happened. If it went to YouTube, I would have been kind of depressed.
Yeah.
So you tell Marcus. Marcus would have liked it a lot more though if Twitch didn't have a streaming esports streaming monopoly. You know what I mean? I think he would have been quite happy to pay the money if he actually had to fucking compete with someone. Marcus.
Drop the elbow.
All right, I'll fucking go. I'll
elbow.
go to town. He might have 30 years on me or something. I don't give a shit, mate. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. We did some cool stuff. You know what I mean? I think like the command center, like the extra add-ons we had on the Twitch side were awesome. They were really cool value adds.
I think what people aren't maybe taking into account about that deal is like, say Overwatch League did go to YouTube at the time. I mean, like that could have shifted. Like already, market share is shifting rapidly from Twitch to YouTube when it comes to esports streaming. But like that would have started much earlier and happened much faster. So it's not just about the dollars and cents. It's about those viewers and those eyeballs and there's a lot of intangibles.
Yeah, and it's always it's easy to look in hindsight and go, well, maybe that was a bad decision now, but at the time, we constantly talk about esports to succeed like mainstream sports. You have to be selling, and someone has to be buying your broadcast rights. That's a huge revenue stream in
you
the
have to
real
understand
world
as well.
So
Bobby threatened to compete with Twitch as a platform. With the acquisition of MLG TV. You know what I mean? Like obviously it was a lot of hot air. Like he was throwing his fucking toys out of the pram.
Well, yeah, like he was threatening to pull all the games off the platform and shit, right? A little bit of blackmail, a little bit of maybe over the barrel, maybe the right idea to buy rights, maybe just too much money, too many zeros.
Just
business.
Just capitalist.
Just business.
Just business, kid.
Well, then we're going to Dubai. We're off to Dubai then because they're really capitalist over there.
No, we're not. Fuck that place, dude.
All right, Ben, let's move on. So you leave Twitch, obviously. You've got paper on Twitch. You stay there a very long time. One of their early employees, obviously you got paper, so you're vested. You got a nice chunk of change. You can go figure out what you want to do. You've moved your butt from the Bay Area to the LA area. You've opened up Juked. You got some outside funding. You got some crowdfunding as well. And now you're like full-time Juked. What is the future? Yes. You just launched last week on iOS. Started on a website.
Yep.
Now website plus iOS, Android coming
soon. Our entire engineering team is working on it. And I think all of you DMP guys are Android. So none of you have the app yet, which I'm sorry.
No, we got two.
We're working hard.
No, Michael's got your app going, and I think Lily's got your app. We got a few.
You and Jason.
Yeah.
You and Jason are not. So
I don't.
We're working hard to get that Android app for you as soon as possible. Yeah.
Question that's incredibly selfish. On the website, you used to you used to obviously list non-esports events themselves, adjacent content like the breakdown. Like we had a page, it would show up on a schedule and a calendar if you wanted to. Is that kind of stuff coming back? Obviously self-serving for me, but there's a lot of, shouldery content to the world of esports that people would love to have in their calendars.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we still have a content calendar. It's the crux of the app is now it's a social platform for esports fans. We want to be the place where you follow all your favorite esports, but also have conversations about them. But we still have the calendar. We still have streams, and absolutely, we should talk about that. Yep.
Okay, cool. And then I know you're moving heavy to the mobile system for obviously a variety of absolutely capitalistic and smart reasons, right? People have a phone, and you all have phones, right? Yeah. But correct me if I'm wrong. Is there still an issue on the website, or was it just an issue in the past that Twitch was not playing nice with third-party embeds, and you guys were caught in that? I saw a drama a while ago. Is that still an issue for you all?
We were caught in that, and every developer who's ever used the Twitch API and embed player was also caught in it. Twitch basically said, hey, you know what? We'd prefer people to be on our twitch.tv or on the app. So we're going to fuck over anyone who's spent hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of hours developing products around our embed player. Super shitty move. I mean, like 50,000 plus people were using Juked every single month, and they basically said, "Oh yeah, screw all you guys. Doesn't matter. Come to Twitch." If you're not familiar with the purple screen, every I mean, they changed the algorithms all the time. At first, it was like once every 30 minutes, there would be this like minute-long purple screen that says, "Click here to go to Twitch. You're not getting the full experience." Now it's like, I think it's like every 5 minutes, it pops up. So
that's so interesting because Twitch are more than happy to embed streams in pixels on pages to plump up viewership if they get paid enough by tournament organizers. Damn. So they did that for ESL. They probably did that for Overwatch League as well. So they're happy to embed streams, but usually, yeah, okay, fascinating.
So,
fuck me. I mean, but this is
the other part. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but the other part that's frustrating for me is like literally, I don't think Twitch would exist. I do not think Twitch would exist today if it weren't for the embed on TeamLiquid.net in the StarCraft 2 beta.
Oh god,
that's literally like the embed is the reason that the vertical of gaming was growing on Twitch at the time. Anyway, we did get caught up in that. But I will say, Scoots, like we were really happy with the website. I still love the website. I still use it whenever I want to tune into an esports broadcast. I'll just go to Juked because it's easier and faster. But the thing is, we had been talking to our users for many months after launch, and we kept hearing this common theme, like, as any good startup should do, we're doing user research, we're talking to folks, we're trying to figure out what we're going to build next. And people just kept saying some version of, I don't look at Twitch chat anymore because it's so chaotic and spammy and toxic and terrible. I don't tweet anymore because I'm afraid of getting quote retweeted by fucking Thorin or Richard Lewis or like just people jumping down my throat. I don't look at Reddit comments because it's too hive-mindy and bullshitty, and Reddit mods are overbearing and like toxicities there as well. So we kept hearing this theme of just like, I'm unsatisfied with the existing solutions for having conversations with other esports fans and actually going deeper. Us old school folks, like we grew up on forums where no, they weren't perfect. Yes, there was toxicity on forums too, but like you recognized familiar names. You could go deep on your favorite game. You can have really deep conversations. Try having a really deep conversation on Twitter and see how that goes.
Yeah, or Reddit for that matter. You're totally right. Yeah, because this is a very interesting, because like obviously you've made the de facto TV guide of live streaming content. And here you go. This is the error message you would get, if you will, or the hey, come to our website message. Very annoying. So it sounds like very annoying, but it's still serviceable. I haven't used the site in a little while, so sorry for my ignorance on that. But my question about that was, does going to iOS, does that go away? Are you allowed? Is the embed better on the phone?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great.
The answer, no, sorry. Answer is no. It's not embed. It's not better. But YouTube is dominating right now. Like YouTube, almost everything's on YouTube in esports at this point. If it's on Twitch, it's already on YouTube as well, except for a few things here and there. So we're prioritizing YouTube whenever possible. And then I think more importantly, the app's focus is different, right? Like the app's focus is to keep you up to date on everything in esports and connect you with people who have the similar passions that you do. So it's not as much about streaming. The website was more TV guide.
Pivot. It's a pivot. When Twitch decided to be cunts and make it really hard for you to execute on your business idea, you pivoted and understood the need for like a space, like a social media, space where people could actually have conversations with like-minded fans and could actually keep up with stuff, right?
Right, exactly. And we were already, I will say, truthfully, we were already looking at pivots at that time, but this was just another kick in the ass. Like Twitch is being assholes. Let's do this thing that we think has even more potential, and people are already asking for it.
Well, and it's been a huge conversation in the last couple of years, just toxicity and how do you fix it and how do you moderate it, and people keep an eye on their communities better, and it all starts on your stream and in your chats and stuff. So you having this bold, hopeful, optimistic thought that you can build this utopian land where we can all chat nice and calmly with each other is great. Obviously, it's all about heavy moderation and rules, and you follow them or you get the fuck out.
people sign, but people are basically signing a social contract when they sign up to this site to use it in good faith,
Yeah.
which is what I like, because it's very clear what Juked is for and the kind of people that Juked is for, which in theory, everybody, right? Anybody can be a not shit human, but I like the idea that people are opting in. They're buying into this idea of joining up with a space and helping create a community where people are, creating a positive and toxicity-free environment. I think that's awesome. There's a question in the chat here from Dijkstra's Path, who says that first time, shout out to you guys. They feel like the Juked app is the first time there's any real community for people to talk about esports in a productive, organized, and fun way. The question is, what are the most exciting ways to use Juked in your opinion? Like, what are you excited to see sort of utilized by users in this community?
I think as a founder, as a tech founder, it's always like so exciting when people are using your product in ways that you may not have necessarily expected, and just running with it. One of the trends that we've seen really take off in the last week or so is like incredibly detailed and in-depth recaps, analysis, and prediction posts. So I'm still an avid esports watcher, but I may not necessarily know that Team Liquid plays Cloud9 tomorrow, and I may not know the context of that. A user is going to post about it and tell me why I should watch. I may not know that, I saw that, recently, you talked about it earlier, 100 Thieves, the Valorant squad is a complete mess right now. They just dropped a couple players after 2 days or 2 matches, and they're adding some new players, but someone on Juked is telling me who these people are, what their potential is, and why they think that this roster has more potential now that Hiko's switching from Sova to Sentinel main. And like, yes, you can find this stuff. Like, if you're in the right circles at the right time, in the right subreddit, in the right comment thread, in the right Discord server, you might find that information. But like, legitimately using the Juked app on a daily basis, I'm seeing this stuff, and it's giving me storylines that, like, I watch CS:GO majors. I don't watch every CS tournament, but like, I have every single storyline for IEM Katowice lined up in my head because Juked users are talking about it. Our app is sending me push notifications whenever there's like breaking news or results that I need to know about. So I'm really excited about this use case, and I'm just super happy to see our user base like really leaning into it and putting in the work to create this kind of content. It's been awesome.
And this isn't curated content by you guys. This is just user-generated like fan journalism, right? Just helping the other fans out with info. That's kind of neat. Future plans, obviously tackling toxicity, building this like inclusive community, everyone, playing by a good set of human rules. Beyond that, you get success, the numbers keep growing, Android drops, you got it on both phones, you're rocking and rolling. What do you see the future of Juked being? Big sponsor presence of other stuff, or just kind of staying in your lane? What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, our goal is to be the companion app for esports. No matter what kind of esports fan you are, no matter what game you follow, we're going to be the app that's, I think the best way to describe what we're doing is really kind of smashing ESPN's functionality together with a Reddit. So one of the things our users love right now is we've got this awesome editorial team. Steven, Sean, they're killing it. We're covering almost 24 hours a day. We're the first app that's going to send you a push notification about 100 Thieves dropping their roster. And we've seen that, like literally 2 minutes after the news drops, we have a post up. People are discussing it. They're getting the first, they're the first place that they're seeing it, and they're staying up to date. So, the anti-toxicity stuff is really important to us. Like, we're trying and move the culture in a positive direction. But it's even more than that. It's just becoming the companion app for every single esports fan is our vision and what we're trying to do. Believe the Newzoo reports or not, there's at least a couple 100 million esports fans in the world, like true fans, at least. And we want to get at least the non-China ones. I mean, China is a whole beast to tackle, but we're trying to get a huge chunk of all of them to be using the Juked app on a weekly, if not daily basis. That's kind of our goal.
Obviously, we've been very rosy and this is a great app, great, all very positive business you're building. You're building a very additive, very positive facing business for our industry. Has anyone like not liked this idea? Has anyone said like, I don't want you hosting? Has anyone been like pissy, like, hey man, I know I'm still getting the view because it aggregates the view, but like I want people to, besides Twitch, I want people to see my page. I want, like, you're taking people away from the rest of what I'm trying to sell them, even though they're watching. You know what I mean? Because no one sees my panels, man, and all my other ads because they're watching it on Juked.
Yeah.
Anyone push back? TOs, anybody give you shit? Or are they all like, this is fucking great?
No. I mean, we're still a small startup, so we're not having super deep partnerships with Riot Games, but we're talking to the publishers and developers of the world. I mean, this is something that's like a value add. Like the toxicity piece is important to a lot of developers. Riot's talked about it a lot. Blizzard has obviously had its fair share of issues. But it's this common thread right now that I know a lot of other startups are also working on reducing toxicity, and big game engines are working on ways to reduce toxicity. So like that piece resonates truly. And then another thing we're seeing from our users is like, hey, I'm watching way more esports than I was before because I get a push notification whenever Navi is playing at IAM Katowice, and that's the only match that I want to watch. But I wouldn't have time. I wouldn't have known it was happening, or wouldn't have had time to watch it otherwise. So, no, honestly, we're not really getting negativity or pushback. Same with when we're aggregating a .esports or Deserto or whatever. We're aggregating their articles and we're driving traffic to them, and I think it's positive for the industry. I mean, the hope is we're not cannibalizing anything. Yeah. We're just kind of lifting all ships, hopefully.
Then we got another question in chat.
Yeah, we do. I'll ask it. So, Dixter's Path now asks, do you think Juked has the potential to be a platform in addition to being a community? For example, making APIs available for direct integration into games and products, or adding events automatically, etc. I'm not too sure what that question means, but maybe you might know a little more.
Maybe. I mean, I could see that's some pretty deep business development relationship, but potentially if Riot calls up and they say, can we put the Juked client in our game, I think we're going to have to consider it. Definitely.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be great.
All right.
Or Valve for Counter-Strike. All Counter-Strike stuff shows up on the Valve, Counter-Strike homepage and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be phenomenal.
That'd be very cool.
I love that.
Very, very cool stuff. All right. I don't really have any other questions for you, Ben. Can't wait to see you and have a drink with you again. It's been far too long. We usually bump into each other at least once a year at a TwitchCon or something. Although now, I think last time I saw you, you were still a Twitch employee face-to-face. So now,
Yeah, different. Holy crap.
No, but none of my friends bleed purple anymore. Garvey's still there.
Garvey's still there. Garvey's still there. I don't know. Yeah.
Isn't he? Oh, God, I hope he is.
He is. One of the very few still there. Hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, I bet.
No, it's been forever, man. I miss you guys. Mitch, if all goes well, man, I'll be casting some Overwatch 2 beta tournaments with you. Let's try and make it happen. I can't wait for Overwatch 2.
I like that. Reunion.
I'm gonna do my best.
The beta boys
sneak back in.
Let's go.
Yeah. Don't bring Rod though.
I think we only ever casted that once at ESL, or maybe even once or twice online.
We did the Atlantic Showdown at Gamescom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a bloody good event.
Glorious.
It was good times, man.
It was great.
Yeah.
So good.
Let's run it back. Thanks for coming on the show, Ben. It's been a pleasure to have you, man.
Yeah.
Yep. Final thoughts.
Thanks for having me.
Exact drop date of Android is February what for the Android drop? February 24th.
Exact dates? Oh my God, Chris is listening. He's gonna kill me. No, we don't have an exact date. I will say 100% of our engineering resources are on Android, so don't worry. We're trying and we're working as fast as we can to get it out. Look out for updates in the next couple of months, if not sooner. That's as much detail as I could possibly give you. But if you're on iOS, please do check us out. Like, the community is awesome. So please join. We'd love to have you.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it as always. Much love. Good luck to you and Chan, man, and the whole crew. Obviously, it's more than just two of you now. And we'll keep an eye on you. Juked.gg, folks.
All right.
Ben.
Thanks so much, gentlemen.
Big FishStix. We didn't ask him the FishStix.
Okay, Ben. Have a good one.
Ben, FishStix. Oh, too late. He's gone. Shit.
All right, he's gone. You don't want to hear your bullshit. I want to hear your bullshit, though, because I'm about to hit you hard.
Oh, is it time?
It's time for a rapid fire presented by Rivalry. Let's bring the fire. Let's bring the flames. Did we have music in the background last time? Okay, you're limbering up for this. That's what I like to see. For those obviously unsure about how this works, we have a highly curated selection of questions to put Mr. SirScoots under the microscope. That's right, we're going to grill him. Take your seat and let's get ready. We're going to start from the top here. Let's go. Number one, how many rounds do you think 100 thieves would get playing against 100 actual thieves in Valorant?
4.
4 rounds. Okay, yeah, I'll take that one. Would you like to fight one Pokemon-sized Pokemon or 50 Pokemon-sized Pokemains?
Oh shit. One big one.
Okay, one Pokemon-sized Pokemon.
Yep.
Right. That's pretty big for Pokemon. I'm just gonna let you know that. Would you rather drink one Red Bull every 15 minutes for a day, or go 15 minutes in a ring with a real bull?
Real bull. I can. Yeah,
really?
real bull. Yeah, I can handle that.
Okay, fair enough. Are you palpitations or getting gored by a horn? Fair enough.
Oh, no.
Would you rather live in a studio apartment with Ninja for a year? You're a male, so I guess he's going to allow that. You know, he's weird with gender. Or would you go for a 10-minute cage match with a real ninja?
Oh shit. You know, I know Tyler. I'd live with Tyler. I could hang out with that. I could deal with that.
Okay,
right?
You would? Okay.
Wait, just live with him. Wait,
we just hear
it
every
would
day,
just
like,
live with him, right? Like, what was?
Yeah, in a studio apartment, though. Studio apartment.
Ooh. He's
For a
always
year.
going to be streaming, so yeah, I would probably not want to fight the ninja and hang out with ninja. That's what I did, yeah.
Okay. Sure. I mean, only 10 minutes. I'm just... Okay, fair enough. Are birds real, or are you part of the conspiracy?
Oh, as a bird law expert, birds are very, very real.
Okay. All right, yeah. This comes by someone who's from a country that's apparently a simulation, so I had to ask you
These
that.
are
What is your favorite TV show theme of all time?
MASH.
Oh my god. I mean, at least that was kind of on TV when I was a kid. I guess it's kind of catchy. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have expected anything different. All right, name one musical group that came out in the last 5 years. One musical group that sort of, let's say, hit stardom in the last 5 years.
Fuck off! I don't know. Billy. No, Billy. Even Billie Eilish is longer than 5 years. I don't know. I don't pay attention to fresh music.
Okay.
That's
all right,
painful.
fair enough.
Matchbox.
What is a better game? Painkiller or Fear Combat?
Fear Combat, without a doubt.
Okay.
That's
all
a
right.
Jason
They're kind
question.
of similar, though, aren't they? I feel like Painkiller was doomy, wasn't it? But like a little bit more.
Well, Fear Combat was a team-based game with objectives, and Fear and Painkiller was a 1v1 deathmatch Quake style game. Very different.
I see. From here on out, who has a longer life expectancy? Queen Elizabeth or the Overwatch League?
Oh shit! Holy fuck! That's topical because like yesterday she died but didn't die, but died but didn't die or something. Oh shit!
Oh no, she has coronavirus.
Yeah, no, but
She's
there was a
diagnosed with
rumor
COVID.
that
She's
like
mild COVID-like symptoms.
yeah. Boy, who goes first? I'm gonna give Overwatch League the benefit of the doubt of this one. They're gonna last longer than the
That's
Queen.
it.
Just because I love you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, and weapon of choice:
Okay.
AK-47 or M4?
M4. But in Counter-Strike, you kind of have to use both, and you only get the choice
Sure.
if you get a drop or you're going to grab on the ground. So, like, I like them both, but I had a good conversation with Tyler and Jason. I'm not an AK fan enough that I'm going to drop my M4 and grab it. It's going to be very situational for me, so M4.
I would always drop my M4 for an AK. Always. Because you fucking kill them in one shot. Like it's the
Maybe
one
you
tap
do.
potential with that
Maybe
weapon is-
you do.
Well,
Maybe old Boomer
the
needs
idea
that
is
tighter
to.
spread and more bullets, you know? There's a
I mean-
reason. Anyway.
I mean, the M4A4 doesn't exactly have a tight spread, to be fair, but sure, you like the A1S, that's fine. I played COD 4, where you actually would choose between those. It would be like an option. You could use them on both sides, and I always use the AK. Never
Fair
use the
enough, fair
M4.
enough.
Some American COD 4 pros, like Nabor and stuff from EG, actually, would use the M4, and we all thought it was really strange, because I think it was triple shot. Anyway, we posed that last question out there to obviously our Twitch chat and to Twitter. We got you guys involved in the choice. The weapon of choice, AK
I would say
or
they're gonna
M4.
say AK.
Stipulate the game.
They're gonna say AK. I mean, we
Okay.
assumed Counter Strike when I did answering it. Yeah, AK.
So AK-47 is the choice,
fucking-
which is fair enough. I think
Bunch
it's
of terrorists out there.
it's
is all I'm
popular.
saying, man.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Thank you very much. Obviously, shout out to Rivalry for presenting
That was good.
our rapid fire segment. Great chance to put each other under extreme duress and force uncomfortable and awkward answers out of one another. I look forward to next week because I guess I'm on the chopping block. But we also can pipe Jason into this show. So why don't we fucking get him? Why does it just have to be you and me?
We should get him in. We should get him in here.
Yeah.
I think we have him on camera. I'm not sure we have him on video yet or audio yet. And speaking of which,
All right.
those questions were a little wackier. Some of them were wackier than last week. So that's definitely some Rivalry influence on the making me live with Ninja.
Listen,
for 10 minutes.
I mean, you got to be, look, you're working in esports. You got to be quick on your toes here. We also took some questions from Twitch chat as well as the show went. So let's cue that up and let's see what we have to work with here. So, this is fucking God. We didn't even talk about this today. What do you think about JasonR dodging matches with women teammates? You know about this?
I did catch up on this a little bit, and I remember it from before because this isn't the first time he's been accused, and he did this in Counter-Strike a little bit. Thank God he's not like a real pro. Like again, my dad.
He doesn't just dodge though. He fucking mutes them.
Oh yeah.
In game.
Oh yeah.
He what he does. Here's what he does. So he turns his camera to full screen, so you only see his face, and then he mutes them in game, and then goes back to game. So we can't hear these voices. There's two options I think here. One, he's just incredibly misogynistic and just can't handle dealing with women. Two, it's something to do with his relationship, and that's a big problem. Like if there's the expectation that he is like cutting off his contact with any women in gaming, either he's dating a psychopath or he himself has made his partner so uncomfortable by his behavior in the past that she doesn't feel comfortable with him talking to any other woman because of his behavior. They're both reprehensible, first of all, but he's gone on record before saying like every girl on Twitch is like a little hoe or some shit.
Yeah.
So like, sorry, and this came out way before this. It's fucking terrible. There's no good excuse for this. It's worse than Ninja saying that he wouldn't like duo with a girl on his stream. At least there, like he has some choice about who he plays with. But in Valorant, you get teamed up with people. Everyone's like, why does anyone care? Like the answer from every fucking incel is, why does everyone care? Why does everyone care about this? Like, you don't understand. Like, this guy is targeting a subgroup of our population and trying to sort of remove them from his purview. If you don't understand why that is a little bit concerning, that I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, a lot of people are like just doing some fucking Dunning-Kruger bullshit about it. Like, it's not good. It's fucking weird.
And
it's a terrible example to set.
And even Ninja gave some, backstory as to why that was a philosophy for him. Because in the past, when he did, make content and play with women, the rumors would start, screwing around, just playing, like even like National Enquirer bullshit rumors, right? Not real, but part of his excuse, whether you want to believe it or not, at least he came forward and said, and this is kind of why I don't do it, because it keeps all this bullshit away. This guy hasn't even said.
That would be fine if he didn't have a history of being. Yeah.
Carry on. And this guy, like, just like, again, fuck this guy, right? That's all you can think. Fuck this guy. Like, he should fucking. I wish, like, I don't know. It's the kind of thing Twitch looks at and goes, this guy shouldn't have a sub button. I don't know. Like, how do you stop? Because the problem.
No, I don't think so. But like, the people should know about this. They should be aware that this is the kind of person. There'll be a ton of people that choose them anyway. Like,
that's the problem,
at Sinatra,
right? Like, you're still going to have thousands of. You can build a fan base on hate. You can build a fan base on being a dickhead. Yeah. So is that allowed? Or
if it's hate though, like, if it's hate, if we want to interpret it as he's building his fan base on hate, then like, okay, maybe remove it. Then you shouldn't have hateful conduct or material on the platform, right? If he can like weaselly explain it away as anything other than blatant misogyny, then fine. I can't see a valid reason for it. And a homie, like, what are you trying to do, mate? You're trying to say pure for marriage, trying to avoid temptation. Like, that. Why should that be everyone else's problem?
Well, yeah, and to your point, if it has something to do with his relationship and he's being pressured to do all this, just don't put your dick in crazy. Just don't put your dick in crazy is what I'll tell you. Like that.
Well, or you've done something, and like, there's actually, it might not be his partner being crazy, or he has fucked around.
That is a valid
his partner
point.
is really uncomfortable with him interacting with. This happens, right? And guys that do this stuff, they explain it away as like some other reason because they're too ashamed to admit that they're unfaithful. I'm not saying that's what JasonR has done.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, like, I've seen people who have done this use this excuse before. It just happened. But
Yeah.
It's pretty terrible. It's like basically refusing to acknowledge the existence of like a huge proportion of the population. So I want to hear the reason. There has to be an incredibly good reason. So, you know, and again,
Happy wife, happy
I wanna know.
life, according to chat. You know that goes, right? I'm
Yeah,
divorced.
yeah. I mean, again, like if you get a backhand for looking at a woman, like that's your business. If that's the kind of relationship you want to be in, you opted into that, so like that's fine. I would not choose that
Yeah.
for myself, but you know, everyone's different. It's okay. Some people like having their balls stepped on with stilettos. It's basically the same thing.
True.
So like that, that's fine.
I'll write that down for next week's question. How many inches in your stilettos? All right. One more question, or maybe not one more, maybe a couple more. What in the world is that Street Fighter 6 logo? It's a terrible logo. It's word art. It doesn't even match the rest of their logos ever. It made no sense to me.
It looks like Rainbow Six. It looks like Rainbow Six, right?
It looks like OG's logo, the esports team, right? Like, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, our poor graphic artist Ness, I thought she was literally going to have a fucking coronary when she saw this shit. Between this and the Riot rebrand, it was like, what is this shit? Yeah, there you go. OG.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I'm not really sure what they're trying to imply with that. Usually, like, I'm interested in like the motivations and like the rationale for these kind of changes, but it doesn't look good. It reminds me of Rainbow Six. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because of the number, but it lacks the vibrancy and the fucking the you know, the sort of flamboyant brushstrokes of all the other fucking logos. And they felt so quintessentially Street Fighter to me. So I don't think it's a great move. Really, like you're departing from the spirit of the logo, I think, and that's very heavily tied into the experience of the game for many people. So yeah, that ain't it, Chief. It's not good. It's very, very not good.
You look at that and you go, how'd that get out of committee? But I did. There it is.
Yeah.
All right. Do we got any more, Jason? One more question. Thank you, Jason. You might have told me that. I didn't hear it. Let's hear. Okay, here we go. The Optic Halo team recently replaced Pistola for Formal after placing second place a few weeks ago. Thoughts on roster changes like that? Are more immediate roster changes like this coming to an end with year-long contracts for players? Well, most contracts are 2 to 3 years in esports, not even year. They're multiple.
3 years.
2 to 3. 2 is the minimum.
Maybe Jay was on a 3-year contract with 100 Thieves.
Yeah.
For context.
It is kind of funny because we talked about Formal before, right? He got borrowed and played for Space Station. Was it Space? Sentinels. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, again, I think we have an issue in esports that we've always had with an issue with in esports, and now it's just more expensive. It's people often don't give rosters don't often give rosters enough time. Someone always has to be scapegoated. Someone always has to be the problem. It can't be a team problem. It can't be something they have to work through. We're just going to remove the problem, put a new solution in, and all will be well. But that just gets really expensive now because you've got multi-year contracts that you have to still pay players even if you bench them, even though it's less money. And then there's buyout situations that maybe you can't get that player sold, so you're paying them to ride your bench for a very long time. It just seems like it's always been too quick. And maybe having longer contracts made that a little less quick. But again, 100 Thieves, 16 players in Valorant so far. 16.
I mean, you need to, yes. Here's the thing. You just need to get a fucking guarantee in your contract. You need a guarantee, guys. You cannot sign a contract that has 3 years as a term, but has like anyone can terminate this contract, or some of them say that only the team can terminate, like there's like an option or whatever. Just please put a guarantee into your fucking contracts, because just because it says 3 years doesn't mean it'll go that long. This way also it's a deterrent for teams to realize, oh, hang on, we're just wasting money by dropping players off. It will actually encourage teams to, God forbid, invest a bit more in their rosters. Like this LS situation, there are lawyers involved, right? So it's not so simple. But with this like 100 Thieves situation, like Eccles is from the UK. His whole life got turned upside down. He got moved out here visa. He probably had a good time. It's probably a bit of an adventure for him. But you know, you have to hope that he might be released from the main roster. Is he a free agent? Does his contract carry on? Like, you know, these are the things you have to do. Organizations sometimes are incentivized to just drop players for the optics of it, because having a happy fan base is important to a lot of these guys. 100 Thieves are like such a fan-centric organization, like your optics are, right? But Hector would never do this to his players. I don't think he would really do this. And it's just, you know, sometimes like the Valorant schedule is pretty grueling. 100 Thieves didn't have like a ton of time, but they had more time than almost any other team because they were auto qualified for challenges. They didn't have to play through the single elimination qualifier brackets that eventually became double elim anyway. They had like a free ride to the main event. But they fucking wasted their time. They didn't play in tier 2 tournaments. They just thought they were above it, and their practices went really badly. They just didn't gel. It's another situation of teams not getting a proper feel for these players until they're already there and all the money's already been spent. So the scene's getting more cutthroat, especially in Valorant, because the opportunities to qualify become few and far between. If you fail to qualify, your team does nothing for 6 months, and that's like basically you just blow up the team at that point. The risk is much higher, and that's why teams are willing to just like take risks in terms of trying to, you know, find the magic formula for their teams. Just get guarantees in your fucking contracts. Then no one really then it won't be a problem.
Yeah,
you're gonna get 50 grand for like 2 weeks of work. Like fuck yeah, and go find another team.
and I think the biggest severance I've seen is 6 months on a contract that you still, you know, if I get cut, I still get, and that's rare. It's usually nothing, or it's 3 months. And then a bench salary that's far less than your active salary. And I wonder if this will. Part of the endemic problem is that forever players themselves controlled their own roster, right? And I'm obviously a very player-centric guy, and for years, the 5 guys playing Counter-Strike knew better than anybody else on the planet who their new 5th should be, right? No coach was going to tell them, no general manager, no team owner, and we all accepted that they are the experts of surrounding themselves with better players. I think that's slowly changing, and depending on the game you play, it's certainly already changed in the sense of who recruits and et cetera. And I wonder if we get more towards sports where it's general managers and coaches and owners who do all the recruiting, players just play, if this settles down a little bit. Like, where is the impulsiveness now? Is it management making weird decisions, or is it players still making harsh decisions? Because one you can fix. And, you know, I just remember from the Counter-Strike days, like, people were like, who are you going to get to coach me? Like, there's no one smarter than me, and not so much now, but like, you know, 10 years ago, you'd have very egotistical players saying, well, why would I listen to that guy? He can watch demos and tell me what the other team does. That's what his job can be. But he ain't gonna tell me what we're doing.
That's the problem in Valorant. It still is.
Okay, so is Nadeshot? So, and we're going away from Optic on this, but like, say, I'm going to keep using this 16 players. So who is it? A combination of Nadeshot and crew? You know, Malik's over there helping run the team, or is it Hiko and players that are churning, or are they churning together? You know, because that's a lot of fucking players to, you know what I mean? And I know you have to experiment. I know you think something looks good on paper, then the meta changes, the agents, the heroes, depending on what game you're playing. You know, some of these games are based on what you're good at playing. Counter-Strike, not so much, and it's more role playing, not, you know, champion playing, if you will. And I just wonder. I've always felt, even when I was at EG.
Here's what I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
Here's what I'll tell you. Hector Rosario used to be the coach of 100 Thieves. Frost, he goes by. You may know him as someone from Flipside Tactics and someone who usually gets shit on by Richard Lewis in Twitter banter wars.
Yes.
He basically tweeted out about this move. He was like, yeah, I mean, imagine getting rewarded for making the same mistake over and over again. And he's referring, obviously, subtly to his previous team. So it could be a situation where, like, a lot of leeway has been given to a player. Maybe it's Hiko.
Okay.
You know, like Hiko maybe was an issue for longer than people realized, and it was other people getting dropped because he was like, no, it's not me, it's them kind of thing. And maybe Nadeshot was giving just him a lot of power, you know, because Nadeshot brought on Hiko as the centerpiece that this team was being built around. That's one possibility. There are actually a few, and I think it actually generally depends on a lot of these teams. There's always a willingness for an up-and-coming player to sign a contract with 100 Thieves. So they're less likely to care too much about those guarantees because sometimes the opportunity itself is fine. And someone like Eccles, you know, on the other side of this situation might not have bad feelings about being 100 Thieves. Baby J did, for sure. But, you know, because the experience was still valuable to them, even if, like, they don't end up taking the money away from it. The problem is that, you know, 100 Thieves are in a position where they don't get eliminated by losing these games. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They do need to do fairly well, but they can qualify for next challenges as well. Like, they have time. You know, they're just so desperate to be that number one team and to stop all this, you know, nonsense coming, you know, their way. Fuck, you got Steel in the studio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ask that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he knew what was. You know, I'm sure he had a fucking goofy grin on his face because I'm sure he fucking knew this would happen. I'm sure he knew this would happen with 100 Thieves. So, long story short, it really does depend. I think some teams are too obsessed about their image. Some GMs and owners listen too much to some players on their fucking rosters.
Yeah.
I think T1 did that for way too long with Dazed. Way too long. So that's what I think about that.
Yeah, and I think on the other side of it, you do have I don't want to say an incentive because that's probably the wrong word, but in this world of limited T1 pros and whatever game of choice you want to talk about, there is a business choice to risk signing more players, and going through this revolving door process, because once you, again, have the 3-year paper on that guy, if you still believe he's worthwhile, he's going to be worthwhile to somebody else, right? So maybe you can still sell that paper. And even though he didn't work out for your team, you still profited because you paid him for 5 months, but you got a contract in your hand worth 3 months with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of buyout that the kid doesn't get, you get. So there's, again, Selfless made a business as a team back in the day of being a feeder Counter-Strike team. That's all he did. Signed players, gave them training, built them up, made them good little players, because he was also a good coach and stuff, Ryu. But his whole goal was he was not going to be a T1 organization. He was going to train his players up and sell them to a T1 organization. And that's how he made money, because he, being not a Tier 1 organization, didn't have all the sponsorship money. So, they can always fall back on, well, I still got this kid on paper and he's worth a couple $100,000 if I can sell him. It's a pain in the ass to sell and the buyouts and all that bullshit, but that makes it easier to have a revolving door if you're a team owner, because you can get that. You can actually still profit, right? Because all these announcements, a 3-year deal worth millions of dollars. Guess when that deal is worth $3 million? The last month of the last year is when it's all paid off. It ain't worth shit. It's a month-to-month fucking contract that you have as a player, right? The team has a 3-year deal. You got a month-to-month. They never look at it that way, though. So if I'm a team owner, maybe I don't give a shit that I got a revolving door as I'm trying to find the puzzle pieces, because the puzzle pieces that are sitting over there, I'm selling. And I'm selling, and I'm selling, and I'm getting my money's worth at least, right?
Yeah, it's a business.
It's a business.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I don't think it is for 100 Thieves. I don't think it is right now. They're just trying to fucking win.
Yes.
But for a lot of teams that realize that they always get players poached. Smart teams in Tier 2 realize this, and they become farm teams, and they don't try and be more than that, because they realize that until they have the revenue to just buy players and keep them there and lock them into contracts that prevents them from just getting poached, then there's no point. So there's a whole economy related to sort of running teams. And I ran some small teams as well. I had to deal with the same issues of teams getting poached and creating an incentive for them to remain loyal and what kind of contracts I could put them in or what I couldn't. But hope that answers the question at some point. There's a big conversation we had about that. Obviously Scott can speak to it to a great degree because of his involvement with the PEA, but there you have it.
Good stuff. Good question. I know we got away from the optic part of it and more about players and contracts, but all right, good show. We went long today. That was a big one. 240. Big show today. Big show.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good times.
Nice.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Good talking to Ben. Good interview as always. We got to figure out who we do next. If you got anyone in chat you think we should interview, hit us up. We're going to keep trying to do that. And I think that's about it for this week. Mitch, any final thoughts from you? Quick, I hear the music.
Outside of, I'll see you maybe in person next week. How do you reckon?
I love it.
Should we have our pancake date again?
Respect.
All right.
Heart. Let's
Looking forward to that. See you guys, everybody, next week, of course. Same time, same place here on the Wednesday. Twitch.tv/DNPeak. Breakdown will be back with all your esports news from the last week. We'll see you real soon.